Welcome to the Intercut podcast channel, the weekly place to hear the latest on the movies, TV, and entertainment that people can't cut away from. I am your co-host, Zachary Shevich, and joining me, ordering the PBR at Hey Lucy's, and no, it's not what you're thinking, it's Amanda the Jedi.
I'm willing to admit I have a problem. I like them too much. I miss them right now, and I probably should ask them how they make it.
Yeah, I mean, I think with all the patronage we've done at that location of Hey Lucy's, they at least owe us.
PBRs in a year than people who go there weekly. So, you know.
Yeah, drop the ingredient list in the comments. Also with us, he came to Toronto for two things: good movies and good French food. It's Chase Azarian. How'd you enjoy your French dining experience in Toronto?
The French dining experience was very good. Laissez-faire, awesome restaurant. I keep forgetting you guys speak so much French over there. It always throws me off every time I land in Canada. I'm like, oh yeah, like this is a much bigger thing. And you're not even, well, I guess when you land
in Montreal, Toronto's not so much.
Yeah, but
even Toronto has the signs in English and French.
Legally,
it's a lot more than we're used to.
Canada-wide. Legally, you have to.
Interesting. Well,
there's a city where I live that they have to do the French first, then English.
Damn. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Still, I'll always forget about when I get there. And yeah, I might sound a little tired, but I'm gonna bring the energy. You know, when you're there at the film festival for so long, it got to the point by the last day, like I wanted to hang with Amanda and Tyler. I was like, listen, I'm exhausted. I gotta skip Roofman, which I heard is good, but like my body was like, I can't watch another movie right now. I was so sick and exhausted.
We were playing pool at the Rivoli, and he's like, my hand, I can't. I don't know.
I was like, am I going to have a stroke? This is crazy.
It's like, I need chicken sandwiches right now. And I was like,
exactly.
Stat.
So, but now I'm feeling better. You know, if I was at 10%, I'd say I'm at 50. And the more we talk about movies, I'll get to 80 for sure. All right. So excited to talk to you guys today.
Yeah, if you're sensing any exhaustion in any of our voices, it's because we are all back from another trip down King Street to watch as many movies as possible at the Toronto International Film Festival, the 50th edition, the TIFF edition of the Toronto International Film Festival. And as always, there were some ups, some downs, most notably the TIFF pre-roll ads. I don't know, I wasn't feeling anything the way that we were feeling those Bulgari ads with Zendaya and halfway from a few years ago. Yeah, the Agnes Varda claps are fun, but it's not fulfilling my pre-show ritual tradition.
I need it so bad.
Chase, you are off your second edition of the film festival. You said you're much more exhausted than you would like to be at this point.
For sure. Yeah, I think it's just part of getting older. You know, like Midnight Madness movies just like do not call my name at a film festival anymore. We did do one this year that was worth it. That will show up on my list for sure. But
exactly,
yeah, it's just one of those things. You get so excited going to these festivals, and when you're making your schedule like weeks in advance, you're like, oh, I'll be able to do a 9:45 at night premiere on day 4, no problem. And then you get there like, what did I do to think this was a good decision? You know, so. But overall, you know, I can't complain. TIFF is still probably my favorite film festival of the two major ones I've been to. It's super easy to get around. It just feels like the one that most people try to go to, you know, just like a good vibe the entire time. And we brought my girlfriend Olivia for the first time this year. She had an awesome time, you know, you guys got to meet her as well. And yeah, I think it's just a very welcoming festival for any kind of movie you are into. There's some action movies, there's some horror stuff, there's like super low budget indie movies, there's experimental stuff, there's the big Oscar players. It's got something for everybody, which I don't think every film festival necessarily delivers on. So yeah, year 2, bit more tired. Knew what kind of movies were worth skipping. Besides Roofman, I did really want to watch it. I'm a little disappointed in myself, but
if it helps, I found it a little disappointing.
Okay, there you go. And my justification was it comes out in like 3 or 4 weeks. I bought the ticket.
Yeah.
Amanda and Michael helped give it away to somebody for free. So if anything, I did someone else a favor and got them in the room.
You go.
So I hope they loved it, whoever got the ticket.
Yeah, you gotta sacrifice certain show times when you're doing 10 days or more in Toronto for the festival. And as you're mentioning, Chase, it's great to just be amongst the community of film goers. So many familiar faces that we saw. A bunch of people who listen to the podcast. Shout out to our Toronto favorites, Tyler and Shane, and we also spent some time with Manon and Antonio and Kyle, and Ricky said hey to us at some point. Max was there, a whole bunch of familiar faces, so always exciting to get to say hi to all of you. Sorry if I forgot anybody's name. I'll maybe add it later on if I remember. But Amanda, we were doing our best to see as much as possible, but I know this year was maybe tough to fit in some of those 9 a.m. screenings, especially with all the pool that we were trying to play at the Rivoli.
I did none. I realized I think the earliest screening was maybe 10:30, maybe 11 for Frankenstein. I'll have to go back through, but there is a chance I didn't get out of bed for like anything. Maybe Mile End Kicks. No, that was noon. I don't think I got out of bed for anything.
And yet you still saw at least 10 movies that you liked enough to put on a list.
33.
There we go. It's still worthwhile. Still got a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah. Anything different about this year's TIFF other than giving yourself a little bit more sleep in the mornings?
I didn't even sleep. That was the worst part. I was awake. I was just like, I'm not leaving. I'm not going anywhere. I feel dead. This is terrible. I feel like a lot of people caught on that they could buy higher memberships and try selling things for absurd prices. So the TIFF tickets did not work for some of the big movies like it has last year. Like last year, I could at least buy a ticket to Anora for $180. No one wanted to part with Knives Out. No one wanted to sell me their Knives Out premiere ticket. So that was rough.
Good luck seeing No Other Choice, even if you did want to pay several hundred Canadian.
I literally got into town a day early, paid for a extra night at a hotel to see No Other Choice before the festival started because I knew it was going to be the easiest way to get it out of the way. It's like a 2.5 hour movie, cleared up a lot of other space. But yeah, otherwise I probably wouldn't have managed to see that either, unless I probably would have lucked out when they added a handful of screenings. But the original run probably would not have worked.
Yeah, Chase, any screenings that you didn't think you were going to manage to fit in, but the seas parted and provided you with a ticket?
Not necessarily a ticket. Speaking of No Other Choice, I lucked out because I was telling these guys when we were there, I wanted to do a couple world premieres, and I knew if I wanted to do No Other Choice, the one press screening at the time, I would have had to wait in line probably 3 hours ahead of time, and I was like, I could fit in some other movies. And then it was so popular, they added a screening that not a lot of people could make because everyone had, there was world premieres of Knives Out,
Hamnet,
Wolfman,
yeah, there was a bunch.
Rental Family that night.
Yeah,
there was a lot going on.
It was a big night. Sacrifice, it was a big night.
Yeah, but I didn't get lucky and get any of those world premiere tickets. So I was able to be at No Other Choice, pick the best seat for me. So yeah, I was super excited to get into that. My first day, I fit 6 movies in, and then pretty much every day after that until the end, I fit at least 3. So I would say usually, back in the day, I would try and push 4 movie days over and over again. At my age, at the old age of 28 going on 29, my brain needs to function a little bit more to actually. I'd much rather go watch 3 movies a day and be able to process as much as I can about them versus do a bunch of 5 movie days and just not being able to concentrate on the movie. So I think I hit 30 this year, and I feel good about that.
3 to 4. Wait, I got more than you somehow?
You did, yeah.
How?
I skipped 2 movies the last day.
You skipped 2 movies, and you skipped one entire day. Yeah. That's crazy. Okay.
I ended up skipping 4 screenings I had tickets for and giving them out.
Because I skipped. I had 2 movie days that I must have made up for with links. But just.
And this year I was cool with last year I felt like I was pushing myself so many times where if a movie was getting really bad reviews, I would still go just to say I saw it. But this year, everyone, including Zach, said Ballad of a Small Player was really boring. And I was like, why am I going to sit through that? I did 2 movies back to back. I'm okay if I could watch it on Netflix in 2 or 3 weeks, even though I was really excited going into it.
Day of that morning, and we got out of we got out of Frankenstein, and I was all like, no. Someone else can have that ticket and give it away. Sorry, cinema.
Sorry, cinema, but we will at least talk about the movies that were worth getting out of bed for, that were worth braving the lines in Toronto for, the best movies of TIFF 2025. Before we do talk about those films, make sure you're subscribed to the Intercut podcast, either the video podcast on youtube.com/intercutpod or the audio podcast available on most podcatchers. Also, follow Intercut on social media, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We are at Intercut Pod. That's at Intercut POD, and that is short for podcast. You can also support the show for as little as $3 a month on YouTube by clicking the join button on our page to become a member, or by going to patreon.com/intercutpod and signing up to join the Intercuties, where you get early access to episodes like this one, the ability to help us decide future episodes of the show, a private chat channel on our Discord server, and an invitation to our monthly Intercutie video chats. Also, be sure to leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, because if we get to 250 5-star reviews on Apple, we'll get you a round of chicken masala poutine at Town Crier, just on us. I figured it's really good. I actually didn't
It's
try
very
it.
good. It's good. It's great.
All right, we'll find out next year. Anyway, looking at the live stream comments from our patrons and members, Josh is asking, how does this year's TIFF rank with previous years you've been? Amanda, as the TIFF veteran amongst us, how would you rank 2025's edition of the festival?
Nothing will ever beat TIFF 2019.
Yeah, I mean, 2019 was also just a magical movie year in general.
It was.
Parasite, Portrait of a Lady on Fire, Uncut Gems. Waves was that year?
Yeah, Waves was that year. I really
Important
like
for the
Jojo
Intercut
Rabbit.
Marriage
White
Story,
House,
I know you guys
Marriage
like
Story.
a lot.
There's a lot. I feel like last year I thought maybe that last year's was better, but I think maybe at the end this one might end up being a little bit ahead on certain areas. I just don't know if I, as of now, liked anything as much as I liked that Anora watching experience at TIFF. I don't know if I had one of those. It was pretty good. I know that people have been kind of upset this year because I think TIFF realized all the scalping was happening, so they upped the prices of the premium screenings. There was an issue this year where a lot of those premium screenings didn't have certain actors people would have expected to see, even though they don't guarantee that. They still charge you premium pricing for the secondary screenings when you're lucky if someone ends up showing up. You can usually tell how much they care about a movie if they show up for the second screening. So I just saw a lot of different complaints there. I know a lot of people had issues with the midnight category, just some of I think 3 of the movies just being too much for people in areas, but for the most part, I think they did, the first half of the midnight was really solid. So yeah, it's hard to say. I think this was a really good year for Canadian movies that are just unashamed to be Canadian. Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie is exceedingly Toronto. Mylan Kicks, the whole purpose is trying to get out of Toronto and to the great city of Montreal, which coming from a small town in Canada, I think that's hilarious. Get over yourself, no offense. Yeah, it's I think it was really cool. I think it was really cool that they, I think Matt Johnson said it best. It's you don't being so visibly Canadian doesn't have to be a detriment anymore, which I thought was cool.
Yeah, big year for Canadian cinema at the festival. I think we're going to have a few Canadian movies on our various lists. Chase, do you enjoy this year's festival more or less than last year's?
I think it's kind of a mix for me. Again, I've only gone to TIFF 2 years, so it's not like I can say which year is the best. But I will say, I think this year, they're pretty close, but I think the main difference is I only saw one movie I didn't like this year of 30, which I think is actually pretty extraordinary for a film festival
absolutely.
for me. Now, granted, I did skip a couple that I heard not good things about, so maybe I cheated that system a little bit. But I think looking at my top 10 list, I'd say top 5 are pretty solidified. And then 6 through 10 are 6 through 9 are solidified. And then 10 through 15 are kind of up in the air. And then 15 to 28 are all kind of in the mix. A lot of good and really good movies this year. Maybe not as many blown away movies, but I still think a year full of good and really good movies is not a bad thing. You know?
Absolutely. I'm looking at my last year's list and I don't know, we didn't have a conclave. I don't think we had one of those this year, but just in terms of that kind of tense drama that's yeah either way, it was a solid year. I think they're pretty similar. Maybe
a fewer breakout candidate films from this year. We before the TIFF awards were announced, there was a lot of debate amongst us and other film critics about what would even win People's Choice, because there were no clear front runners. So it in some ways that made it a strange TIFF, but I think I agree with you, Chase, in that even though I saw more films at this year's TIFF than I had in the past, a lot fewer true stinkers, a lot fewer movies that made me question why I'm even sitting in the theater for this one. I had a good time at almost everything that I saw. And I had a particularly good time at maybe 10 or so of them. So we will get into the best films of the fest. I can kick us off with my number 10, and then I'll toss it around. My number 10, which I'm gonna guess is I'm the only one who has their list. I have Caroline. Chase,
Yeah,
did
Chase
you make
skipped
your
it.
list or
No, he
honorable
skipped it.
I skipped it
mentions?
the last night before Roofman, and Amanda may or may not have influenced that decision.
I did not. I said you might end up liking it a lot more than me. I just went in with expectations too high.
Correct.
Yeah, it's not showing up on Amanda's list. I did kind of respond to this modern take on kind of a Bonnie and Clyde-esque story starring Samara Weaving and Kyle Gallner as like one of the sexiest on-screen couples I feel like I've seen in some time.
It's true.
This one is the new film directed by Adam Reimeyer, who made Amanda's beloved Dinner America and my beloved Snack Shack. You mentioned that this is actually the first of those 3 films that he didn't write. So you do get maybe a bit of a different tone than you might expect from this one. I kind of enjoyed the sort of sexy adventure crime movie that it brought us on in the first half. There's sort of a fun learning the ropes of being a con person thing happening before the film takes more of a downfall in its latter half that may hit different people different ways. But I was along for the ride. I thought it was a fun adventure. It's, not necessarily the most unique take on this kind of crime movie, but it's like it's a good time and pretty enjoyable to watch with really good actors.
Expectations too high for me.
That can happen. That happens
for me,
at a festival.
I felt like it lulled in the beginning and then got better.
Yeah, which is interesting because I've heard from other people that they prefer the first half and don't like the second half. But
yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Curious to see how most people end up feeling about Caroline. That's my number 10. Chase, you want to give us yours?
Yeah. So I kind of mentioned before, my number 10, I kept switching out between 3, maybe 4 movies, but so last year, if you watched our recap, I did not put The Brutalist on my top 10. I thought it was a bit overrated, even though I still liked it. And then I rewatched it 2 times in theaters months later, and it's in my top 3 of last year. I absolutely love it. So the reason I'm putting this movie here is because I could see it falling in that category, but I'm not thinking about it as much as I did The Brutalist last year. And that is a Sentimental Value. This was my most anticipated going in to the festival. It is directed by, how do we say his name is pronounced? Joachim
Trier?
Joachim Trier.
It is Joachim Trier. Okay, so
I think I could have that wrong actually. No, it's not Joachim. I don't know why I said that.
Okay, I want to say we said Joachim, but maybe we gotta insert the flashback from 3 weeks ago when we figured it out.
Whoops.
But this is his next film after Worst Person in the World. It follows the story of this director played by Stellan Skarsgård, and he is a filmmaker that wants to make one more film where he casts his daughter in it to kind of play a version of potentially herself. There's a lot of elements to this movie about family, about legacy, just a movie about filmmaking, which is usually up my alley. I have another movie later that definitely encompasses that. I want to say this is a very good movie. The reason it's at my number 10 is I was expecting to be a bit more blown away by it. The word coming out of Cannes about it just had me thinking it was, I think, just set an expectation in my head of what I wanted the movie to be, and maybe that's not fair. I do judge movies on what they are, not what I want them to be. But I just felt like by the last 20 minutes, I was kind of sitting there like I wanted a little bit more from it. But that being said, what we get on screen is really good. There's a lot of interesting writing, like it's very well written. There's a lot of really good acting in it. There's a really interesting dynamic between 3 characters that I don't necessarily want to get into for people that haven't seen the movie yet. Just a movie I want to think more about, but I still think is really solid. I feel like I should have cried at a movie like this, and it didn't really get close to that for me. I know I'm sounding more negative about it, and maybe it's one of those movies I'm trying to convince myself that I like a little bit more, but it is one I will rewatch when it comes out. Of the 3 I've seen, this, Worst Person in the World, and Reprise, I do think this is my least favorite of those 3. I still have to catch Oslo on August 31st or whatever that's called. But still really solid movie. I think a lot of people I talked to, like Tyler, loved it. You know, there are people that really
it's getting higher for me too.
Okay.
So it's actually
did
high
it make
on
your
my
list?
It did. I don't know why I didn't stop you from talking.
Okay.
I forgot
It's good, but
we'll
overall,
talk
this is a
about
really
it
good
now.
movie.
We'll talk about it now so then we can. But yeah,
How high up on your list is it?
I don't know yet. I'll let you know when we get there. No, it's definitely been growing on me. I think part of me and Chase's problem too is that we were in a pretty tight finishing. We had from when that finishes to when we had to go get to the Nirvana midnight screening. So I do think when it starts getting down to the end, we're less focused on trying to like be very invested in the movie when part of our brains just like, shit, we gotta go.
The environment that both of you watched this film wasn't necessarily the most conducive to enjoying it.
Yeah, and I personally think, I think me and Chase actually walked away saying the same thing. We had a part where we thought the movie should have cut and it didn't. I think it's a movie that can justify its runtime, but I also think there's parts of the movie that could use that runtime better for like what it's going for. I do think there's some moments in this that are like genuinely really beautiful. I'm very excited to see it again. So it is higher on my list. Not quite sure how high yet. And I will, as of right now, say that if it ends up super high on my list later, this was because of the viewing experience. We should not have stacked a movie that was supposed to go until 12:15 with the Q&A with a movie that started at 12.
And if there's one more thing I could add too, I do think maybe a reason a lot of people love this movie as much as they do is it's very tailored to people like us and people that watch podcasts about people that talk about movies. I would say two of the biggest pops in terms of laughs are like very... You have to be someone that loves the Criterion Channel and like just into film journalism, I guess is all I'll say without spoiling one of the jokes. That I think this is kind of like, I haven't seen the studio yet, but it seems like the studio maybe is not everyone's cup of tea, but for people like us that are so into movies, like it's so up our alley, I see this fitting into that category for a lot of people that watch shows like this.
Fair.
It's also valuable to hear you both respond this way to a film, because I feel like Sentimental Value is reaching the like most hype movie of the fall status. Like people are really hungry for this new one to hit the way that I think a lot of people felt like The Worst Person in the World hit. And that can also sometimes set your expectations in the wrong place. And it's interesting to hear that you both feel like it's one that maybe will grow on you the way that you were talking about The Brutalist. And Amanda, you're saying it's already growing for you.
I might be holding it to expectations that are unfair.
Yeah.
But we'll see. It's very good. It's still very good. Incredible performance.
But still top 10 worthy.
Yeah. All
right, cool. So Sentimental Value makes Chase's number 10, and we'll find out with Amanda. It's all fluid with Amanda's top 10s.
I don't know yet.
Amanda, if you've decided, what is number 10 on your list?
Yeah, let me give some love to Mile End Kicks, the follow-up by Chandler Levesque, who made the fantastic I Like Movies. I think it's interesting. Apparently, Mile End Kicks was what she pitched first. They were like, go make another movie first, get the name, then you'll get the funding for this. But I do think I Like Movies is incredible. This is still very good. This is the one I was talking about a girl. Barbie Ferreira is she's from Toronto, and she's trying to do a little stint in the hub of music, Montreal, where like the heart of a lot of Canadian indie music and stuff is, and just kind of watching her learn to not be a shitty person while becoming obsessed with boys that do all the things that she says she doesn't want to. And the whole thing is she's there trying to write about Jagged Little Pill, the Alanis Morissette album, also very Canadian. And unintentionally like falling into all these traps that Alanis has been like warning her against, which I just find it interesting. Really great performances across the board here. We got Devin Bostick. He was great in it. It was really good. Really excited to see what she continues to do next with her movies, because they're just so delightful and Canadian.
Yeah, and also I just love that they are so involved in media and are about appreciation for media and how that sort of molds you, especially as at a young age. That's something that I think both I Like Movies and Mile End Kicks have in common. Mile End Kicks particularly being this film that is kind of about wanting to be around the coolest guys in the room until you realize that they're all dorks. I think this is also such a natural successor in some ways to Almost Famous. The Almost Famous for millennials or Gen Z, because it's got this real quality in that it is this coming of age story tucked within a story about music journalism and music appreciation, and set against the backdrop of a rock music scene. I think this is a movie that's going to hold a special place in a lot of people's hearts, similarly to that Cameron Crowe film. And I could be wrong. I feel like even her Twitter bio says like Cameron Crowe appreciator or something
Yeah.
like that. So it's definitely something that was on her mind making this film.
And it feels realistic because I asked one of our friends' girlfriend I finally got to meet this trip, and she was from the Toronto area, and I was like, do you guys also have that thing where you're just like, even though this is a city that everyone else in the country is trying to escape to when they're teenagers, do you also feel the need to escape from the city? Because that's what I noticed with the TIFF Next Wave kids. All of them were like, I'm going to NYU. I'm trying to go here. I'm trying to go to McGill. None of them wanted to be in Toronto when you're like already, you got one of the good cities. So I think it's just interesting that no matter where you are, for the most part, everybody has that universal experience of just trying to go. You want to go to the opposite coast. You want to go to the different big city. I think it's interesting. And this really expresses that.
Great pick. Mile End Kicks at number 10. I'll mention my number 9 just briefly because I anticipate that Hamnet is probably a bit higher on either one or both of your lists.
It's the same number for me, actually.
Okay.
Really?
I mean, I have it at number 8 if you guys want to talk about it now. So
let's get it out of the way then. Yeah, so my number 9, Amanda's coincidentally number 9.
Number 9.
Should host a podcast together. And Chase's number 8. Hamnet, the latest film from Chloe Zhao, an adaptation of the Maggie O'Farrell novel, which tells the story of Agnes and William Shakespeare, their love story through the birth of their children and their mourning of one of their children, as well as the creation of Hamlet, the iconic play. It's a film that I kind of anticipated being stuffy historical drama and then proceeded to be completely emotionally devastated by the just like humanity that it evokes and does so beautifully. I don't know. Chloe Zhao can be a bit hit or miss for me, but I think this is a film that captures some of the things that she does best in evoking these moments of emotional intensity without a lot of words. I think there's certain times where the movie is maybe like asking you to cry a little bit more, but then there's these visuals that she creates that to me are some of the most heartbreaking things in the film, and elements that are going to resonate with me for a long time.
Yeah, it's a movie that I'm actually really excited to revisit, which is not usually what I say about the last 2 Chloe Zhao movies. No offense, Eternals isn't her fault. She comes out clean there. But yeah, I really want to revisit it. But there's like so much going on in this. Like, there's just little things. They'll do flips on classic tales or different stories. So like early on, they mention the Orpheus and Eurydice, not Orpheus, the Eurydice, and I should know this. It's in Portrait Lady on Fire as well. But then like later on, the movie like subverts it in a really like beautiful way that like culminates into like why the ending has as much of an impact as it does. It's like there's so many moments throughout the story that if you've been keeping track or you've been like absorbing things properly are going to pay off in this final scene somehow. So I do think it's really beautiful. This is definitely one I can see going up. The more I think about it, the more if I watch it again, because it's so hard to judge when you're coming out of these. A lot of the times the fun movies end up getting ranked higher sometimes, or the ones that have like really big emotional reactions because you're just basing it on the experience sometimes more so than the actual movie. Right. So I do think that as time passes, this one will probably go up for me. But I feel comfortable having it at 9 right now. But yeah, most of this list is pretty similar. But yeah, Chase, what did you think about Hamnet?
This was one when we made our preview 3 weeks ago. I put it on my 5 of looking forward to, not top 5 most anticipated, but this was before it premiered where all the hype started coming in. A lot of people kind of started writing this off a lot of like, oh yeah, this is going to be like a Shakespeare boring ass Chloe Zhao's washed kind of movie. And if anything, before me and Amanda left yesterday, we were talking about what we thought could win the People's Choice, and it was up in the air. But my guess was either this or Rental Family, the way people came out. Like the girl next to me during this was sobbing for the last hour, you know?
Dude,
and it was stuffy in that theater. Everybody was wiping away tears.
Like it is definitely effective for a lot of people. I know a lot of people that went to this film festival as press. This was by far their favorite movie. And I'm coming out really liking it. Kind of like you guys.
Should probably be higher.
Probably, but I do want to rewatch it. There is a moment. Like Jessie Buckley is incredible in this. She's probably, I would have to sit down and like write out my list, but probably my favorite performance of the year from what I've seen so far. Granted, we haven't seen movies like Begonia where I hear Jesse Plemons and Emma Stone are incredible, but she has a moment here where it actually gave me chills in my body, and I was like, holy shit, she's great. Really good period piece. I might prefer one heavily that we'll get to later, but I still think Hamnet is very effective. I think it has a really solid ending, even if it uses the overused song that I hate that I hear when it comes up in certain movies, but it still works for the film itself. I do want to rewatch it because, like Amanda said, there are a lot of things that are talked about early on that pay off in weird ways that you don't fully expect. And I will also say Jacoby Jupe as Hamnet.
Yeah.
Like, I shit on a lot of child performances. He is really good here. And it's one of those movies where I feel like every couple of years there's an Oscar movie that is so prolific in that year's Oscars that maybe they nominate a kid. I would not be surprised if he kind of sneaks his way in a little bit.
Supporting?
I think maybe. I mean, Paul Mescal, it gives one of those performances where he is technically supporting, but they could make the push to best actor.
Yeah, I agree.
And I could see Jacoby Jupe kind of fitting in there. He's fantastic in a couple scenes.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's a really excellent child performance. I know that there are some like award shows that specifically honor child actors, and I anticipate he's probably going to be well awarded from those. I am curious about the thing that you just brought up. To me, Paul Mescal, I think he's really solid in the film. Yeah. I really enjoy his performance, but to me, it's pretty clearly a supporting performance. I am, like you, seeing some people talk about the idea that he might go lead. Would that be strange to either of you?
I was under the impression that he might have only been in the movie for maybe like 30% of it. I felt his presence, and like I felt like he was on screen a solid, like if she's 60, he's 40, which I guess still makes it supporting, but
it definitely leans Buckley, but I don't mean to say that he's like not in it or anything like that.
Yeah.
I think he could pick and choose. Like, I thought Kieran Culkin is a lot for supporting actor.
You
know what I mean? And he's in like half that movie.
That's true. Yeah.
I think it's one of those ones where there's no real set rules. You could kind of pick what you want it to be. The Martian's a comedy. So, you know what I mean? It's kind of whatever you want it to be when it comes to the campaign manager.
Yeah, but Mescal is excellent. I would not be surprised to see him in Oscars discussion, even if it is really, really Buckley's movie. She is phenomenal, and I agree, probably the best female lead performance I've seen this year. The film itself, we alluded to it, it took home the People's Choice Award at TIFF, which is a pretty interesting designation for a movie that is as weepy as this one is. Usually, I feel like the winners are a little bit more fun or more life-affirming. Not that this one isn't in its own ways. In what ways are you surprised, or in what ways does it make sense to you that this was the eventual winner, Amanda?
It makes sense to me because people were really like resonate. Like it worked for people. So it makes sense that people would have been voting for it. But I also think when Cameron Bailey comes out on the last Saturday of the festival to introduce a movie, you know that that's something that they're pushing for. I know they did the same thing for Sentimental Value. So I do think that there were movies that they like assumed would do really well and were giving them those pushes, especially when you take into account that the runner-ups were like the two Netflix movies, Frankenstein and Knives Out, which traditionally kind of fit in more in what you see with the People's Choice. So but I just think this was like this, I honestly kind of think it's like a perfect blend of being, it's artsy, but it's a story that everyone can follow. It's emotionally resonant. It's interesting, but I just think it was like the sheer, like the hype building into it, coming out of those festivals and then delivering at this festival. And then people having enough time to see it, like Sentimental Value, I think they added a couple screenings, but it was like kind of hard to see that at first. There was only 3 screenings originally, including the press one. So they added them, but like Hamnet out the gate had like a good amount. So I feel like they knew what they had on their hands and were pushing for it.
All right, so Hamnet, Amanda and I have it at number 9. Chase has it at number 8. But Chase, what do you have at number 9 on your top 10?
Yeah, I have the movie I was probably higher on than everyone else in our group, and it is the one that made me cry the most. I've only cried in 2 movies this year. This one made me cry by the end for sure. We have Christy, which I can't believe I'm saying, starring Sydney Sweeney as the boxer Christy Martin, who admittedly I knew nothing about, and I think that is probably the reason I was so impacted by this movie. When we were talking about it on our preview 3 weeks ago, I said, this will probably be the feel-good boxer movie that you see with your family on Christmas. This is the furthest thing from that. And I think part of the reason I enjoy is a bad word to describe it, but part of the reason I was so captivated by it was this woman's story is pretty crazy. Pretty much it is a woman that went through a lot of shit that definitely involves domestic violence to a crazy degree in certain points.
She had battles both inside and outside the ring.
For sure. And I would say this is definitely more of the category of 2/3 of the movies, probably outside of the ring kind of stuff. That is definitely the focus. I think Sydney Sweeney is really solid here. A lot of people said this is like an Oscar-worthy performance. I don't think so. I think she's good.
She's good,
I do
but she's
think
not that
Ben
good.
Foster is kind of incredible in this. I don't think... it seems like a movie not enough people saw at TIFF, which I get. You see the Sydney Sweeney boxer movie, a lot of people write that off from the jump. But he is pretty fantastic. If I was the only one making Oscar choices this year, he's probably my pick for Best Supporting at the moment. I think he is truly transformative, and I think that word is overused a lot, but he is really fucking good in this movie. Sorry for cursing, but he's crazy. Her story's crazy. They do some elements. It's not just the story that made me cry at the end, but there's elements. There's really smart choices people make with facial expressions towards the end that made me go like, okay, this isn't just a good story. It's really good directing too. And it's really good choices that the actors are making in the moment. It is a powerful story. It is a hard one to watch. I think very few movies got as big of a pop at certain scenes than this one does at a certain point. And
Very true.
yeah, I think maybe people that know her story going in, like Mirjani said, he knew a lot about her and he enjoyed
still
it,
liked
but
it, yeah.
wasn't really crazy on it. As someone that didn't know her story at all, I was pretty taken aback by this. It is definitely one of the most memorable movies of the festival for me. I definitely get the criticism that it is a little bit by the books, but at the same time, I think this is a story that is so inspiring and powerful that it is hard to dislike it. Even if the movie is pretty basic, there are moments in here I will never forget. And I think that's worthy of making my top 10 list for sure.
Yeah, you had alluded to this, but there's a lot more of the movie is outside of the ring than I think I was anticipating, given that is sort of her claim to fame. But, you know, beyond her work as a boxer, she works now as a advocate for survivors of domestic violence. So it makes sense that would ultimately be such a big part of the movie. I think for me, ultimately, there are these moments that are really resonant that you're talking about, that especially in an audience at the Toronto International Film Festival, they get a really big response. And then there are these other moments where the movie like lulled a little, at least for me. But I would not be surprised to see a lot of people really respond to the film because it is very affecting. A good pick at number 9 for your list. Amanda, we heard your number 9 already, Hamnet. So I'll go back around to my number 8, which is The Christophers, the new film from director Steven Soderbergh, which stars Ian McKellen as an aging artist and Michaela Cole as a young artist and art forger who is recruited to work as his assistant in order to complete paintings that he abandoned a long time ago in order to potentially sell them for a lucrative amount. And ultimately this becomes a very compelling two-hander between Ian McKellen and Michaela Cole, two fantastic actors. I think McKellen in particular is so much fun here, more fun than I can recount him being on screen in quite a while, playing this sort of wily artist who has sort of been cast out from the art world and is now just letting himself speak his mind and be a little bit cantankerous and also just be the sort of joyful, bubbly presence that Ian McKellen can be at times. And Michaela Cole opposite him acts so steely that they're sort of a fun, odd couple in some ways. It has this really compelling story that discusses sort of the value of art and the artist's role in society and how artists interact with the art world, but also has this almost thrillerish element to it because of the lingering question of what's going to happen to the paintings. And I think it's just really compelling. This is written by Ed Solomon, a frequent collaborators of Steven Soderbergh, and I think Solomon is really good at putting together these very intellectual, talky scripts that just take on dense ideas and break them down in entertaining ways, and especially delivered by actors as fantastic as this film has, it makes for a pretty delightful film. Steven Soderbergh just remains the king of the 3.5-star, really entertaining film.
Yeah, this is one that both me and Chase ended up skipping, I think. No, you didn't have it. It was Tyler that skipped it. I skipped my 9 a.m. because I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't make myself go. I thought I'd be fine by then. I just wasn't. So here,
this was the year of us not being fine.
Yeah, apparently, yeah, like a little bit. It was just like, oof.
Yeah, a bit too many trips to Melrose until 2 a.m. Not that I regret them.
No, never.
Anyway, The Christophers, I'm sure we'll be talking more about it on the podcast in the future. That's my number 8. Chase, we already heard your number 8 was Hamnet. So Amanda, let's hear what you've got.
I think this is probably where I'll stick Sentimental Value for now. So
cool.
Yeah, again, really liked what it did. I love the dynamic between Renat and Stellan's character. Feel like it could have gone a little bit deeper in certain areas, but I like what it's going for, and I like kind of the backdrop with Elle Fanning. So yeah, my number 8 for now.
A lot of people are forecasting this as a potentially big player in the Oscars. Would you be surprised for it to get like a Best Picture nomination?
Probably not.
I think it'll be nominated, but I think it's going to be one of those ones where a lot of people were fighting like this should be the Best Picture winner, and maybe I could see Stellan winning for sure. Maybe some screenplay love. I don't. To me, it doesn't scream Best Picture winner the way I thought it would. I think if it was between this and Hamnet, just of the movies we've talked about, I think Hamnet has a more clear shot at like a Best Picture win. But even that, I'm not super confident in calling the Best Picture winner right now.
Nice. All right. Sentimental Value at number 8. We'll go back around to my number 7, which I already mentioned was Bad Apples, although we haven't really talked about the movie yet. Amanda, I know that you were a fan of this one as well.
Yeah.
A dark comedy starring Saoirse Ronan as a primary school teacher who does her best to teach her class of 10-year-olds while dealing with one particularly rowdy student and the series of bad decisions that she embarks on in the process of sorting that all out. It's a film directed by Jonathan Etzler, and just a really delicious dark comedy. I think it's a movie that is like unafraid to let its characters do the bad thing and not necessarily be punished for it. You know, I think there are certain elements that maybe feel a little bit like logically implausible, but they are delightful to see the characters navigate. I don't know if I've ever seen Saoirse Ronan in quite this mode where you are where you kind of think so poorly of her. It's got a little bit of the like Lady Bird rebelliousness, but in a very like proper package. I think the child actors in this movie are also particularly
so
good and so much fun to watch. Amanda, what did you respond to in Bad Apples?
You know, it was pretty good. Like I was kind of like, where is this going to go? Like you're watching it and you're like, how can this possibly end? And you get to a point where it almost starts feeling like a riff on School of Rock. And when you see it, you'll understand exactly what I mean. Because it's supposed to be like more like a satire, like not a satire, but like a highly exaggerated, maybe satire of like what modern education is like. I know it's technically taking place in the UK, but ever since like No Child Left Behind became a thing, like kids just are being left behind in every possible way. You end up with these issues that it's like parents want to blame the teachers for everything, and but then aren't willing to work with the teachers when they need help with certain things, and how one person can disrupt a class enough that like it's bringing down the entire class, and that the teachers aren't getting the support for that. So I do think it does a really good job expressing all those pieces. And then there's just some like wacky stuff, like that redhead kid, man, that she's wacky.
It does a really good job of subverting your expectations in lots of ways. Sometimes because you just assume people are going to be better than that. And sometimes because like the characters are not who they appear to be on the surface. Yes.
Yeah. So big fan of that one. I thought it was really, really interesting. Great role for Saoirse. And I could not have guessed where it was going to go when it gets there. So big fan of that. Always a fan of that.
This is definitely a movie I would skip the trailer for when it comes out. I think it's very easy to read the premise, and within the first 20 to 30 minutes, you're like, oh, this is the movie. Like, this is where we're going. It's very different than what I expected it to be. And I think this is definitely one of the bigger surprises of the festival for me. It's sometimes when you read a description, you see the actor, you're like, this might be the dud. Like, I thought Bad Apples was going to be the dud, and I'm so surprised that it wasn't. It really solid dark comedy, really a couple awesome moments that have good payoff. I want a little bit more from the ending. It's my number 12 right now. If it really nailed the ending, I think it would have probably slid into the top 10. But yeah, really fun movie. One I'd be excited to watch with people that haven't seen it yet. And yeah, I would just avoid reading reviews, seeing trailers, and going to this one blind. It's a really fun time.
Yeah, that's a good call. There isn't a trailer yet, but I almost positive that trailer will spoil too much of the movie.
Absolutely.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Chase, what do you have at 7 on your list?
Yeah, at 7, I have the Palme d'Or winner, I believe. It was just an accident. This was my first day where I watched 6 movies. This was my 4th of the day. And walking out of it, I was like, that's a good movie. And then as the festival goes, this is why it's tough doing these lists right after the festival, because within a week, these are going to change. But this is one I've had like almost 12 days to think about. And it grows more and more on me as time goes on. This is kind of like Bad Apples. I don't know how much people know about it, so I will keep it vague with somebody gets kidnapped, and it's kind of a comedy about a very serious subject. I'm sure people have talked about the movie, but I don't want to be the person that spoils it for people that haven't seen it.
We were saying a theme with this year's TIFF was justified kidnappings.
Yeah, that would be a good way
Amanda.
to potentially describe this. I know Amanda's seen it too, and I'm curious to see if it falls on her list, but some really solid performances, some really solid writing, potentially the best ending of the festival. I think
I'll give it that.
Really, really strong. One I'd be interested in rewatching. I'm not necessarily blown away by it, but the more I think about it, there's one, I wish I looked at my watch. It's got to be like a 15-minute sequence that is pretty incredible. There are a lot of moments that have really stuck with me. I think it's very funny in certain points. I know Amanda's very annoyed at one character. That character was the highlight of the movie for me. So I think it depends on who you are.
There's just certain people that I know if I was there, I would be like yelling at them and hitting them and just being like, they would bring me to violence.
And that shows good character right there. You know,
that
shows it's a well-written character. You just want to punch them in the face.
I'm not saying they did a bad job. I'm not saying they did a bad job. It's just sometimes things get a little bit too far. They just get a little bit too far for me.
They do.
You know?
They do. But a lot of it works for me. There's a sequence where they do a favor for the person they kidnapped, is all I'll say, and it's like one of the best bits of the year for me. So I really like it. I do think it's one you can't fully get into without spoiling a lot of stuff. So
yeah.
I'll kind of just leave it at that. I liked it when I came out. It has grown on me more as I think about it, which I can't say for every movie. And I think a lot of people are going to have a really good time with it.
Really curious about this one. I've heard that this is not your typical Jafar Panahi film, but everything I've heard has made me be pretty excited to see it. So it was just an accident. Yeah,
it is funnier than I expected in certain ways. Not necessarily funny, but there was just moments where people would do things and I'd be like, what the fuck are you doing? You know?
And I love movies like that. I love movies where it's like, why are you making this decision? It's like the way this man
is doling out money in certain areas, and I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Exactly.
You know? Yeah.
Amanda, what do you have at number 7?
My number 7, I think I'm going to go with Obsession. This was one of the Midnight Madness movies that I thought was really, really good. It is just something where I could see parts where I would have adjusted a couple things to like really like totally nail it home. But this is a very, very strong movie by a skit YouTuber named Curry Barker, I believe, who his skit partner is one of the actors in the movie, the best friend. And it's basically, you know, the light, not real spoiler, but just the general premise is this guy has been in love with his friend for years and is trying to work up the courage to tell her about it. Kind of gets the vibe that she doesn't want to hear it, and then ends up with like this novelty wishing thing and wishes for her to love him more than anyone in the world. And we fall out from there. And the way they do it is so smart. Like there's going to be a phone call where something happens on that phone call that you're just like, oh my God. Like a lot of it's very smart. It has a meanness that's going to be similar to like a Talk to Me in terms of like curse. And it's got that same kind of vibe. It's going to be really fun at like I don't know. It's the perfect like teenage horror movie that is like actually pretty adult in a lot of what it's doing. It's just going to, play very well to those audiences. I really liked it. It's definitely a strong I think it was one of the runner-ups in the midnight category too. I think it was like
it was the first runner-up.
The first runner-up or the third. Yeah, it was like
the
second
winner
place
for scariest at least because the one was a comedy, right?
Scariest because Nirvana won for midnight, but I really liked this movie and the crowd experience was fantastic. Everyone was so into it, so I'm really happy I ended up catching this one.
Yeah, I saw it too. I thought it was solid. It's probably hovering between 15 and 20 for me. Kind of going off a little bit with what Amanda was saying. I think my biggest problem with some movies like this is there's like towards the last third of the movie, there's a scene where they sit down with somebody and they're like, here's all the lore about this monster for 5 to 10 minutes. And this does a really good job at giving you just enough lore, but never delivering on the explanation of everything. It just gives you enough and never gets too cheesy with it. And for a movie made by a 25-year-old, I thought it was pretty impressive. A few people we hang out with were comparing it to the Smile movies. I think that's a pretty fair comparison in terms of the type of horror movie it is.
Yeah.
It's got a couple of predictable scares here and there, but I think me and Amanda were talking about after the movie too, when we all came out, even when you know how the scare is going to happen, they always add one element that makes it a bit crazier, and you're like, oh, okay, like I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, someone was like, I didn't see that coming. And I was like, are you kidding? I knew that was coming. I just didn't know how it was coming, like,
exactly.
Whoa.
And I think that makes it more satisfying. So yeah, I think this is gonna be a lot of people's favorite horror movie in terms of like that fun kind of horror movie. It's not gonna make you think too deep. That's been a big discussion with horror, where it's like elevated horror. This is a straight up fun, good horror movie that does have smarter elements to it. It's not just dumb, but I do think first and foremost, it's a fun movie. And I think a lot of people are going to like it.
Mm-hmm.
This was also one of the big acquisitions of the fest so far, and that Focus Features picked it up for over $15 million. So definitely a big sign of confidence to get a pickup like that from a studio like Focus.
Yeah, that's how they announced it for us.
They were
like, this just made $15 million.
Do you feel like this movie has, maybe not exactly like this, but Talk to Me breakout potential, Amanda?
Yeah, I think so. I think people are really gonna, I hope at least, I think people are really gonna enjoy it. Again, it is one I can kind of see areas where it could have been tightened up, but I think if you get like a good audience with this, it's just a really good time. Some people have some issues. I heard someone saying that just there's a part of it that they have issues with. And I'm like, but that's also kind of part of the point. It's like, yeah, this is like really shitty that this is happening. I'm like, yeah, that's kind of, it's a horror movie. It's kind of the point.
Yeah.
It's kind of the point. So we were like, oh, but that, he shouldn't be like that. And I'm like, but I can understand why he is like that, and it's a horror movie. So, yeah, I think it's gonna be. I don't know if it's gonna hit people as hard as Talk to Me did, because I do think that is a extremely unique piece of media that they managed to pull out there. But this is like up there. It does a really good job with the lore, kind of putting a twist on something we've kind of seen before. That you have to be very specific when you wish for things. I'm excited to see I'm excited for other people to see this.
Yeah, people got to be just prepared for a bad time, I guess. All right, well, from one horror vibe that doesn't sound quite my particular taste to a horror vibe that was exactly my taste, my number 6, I'm going with Exit 8.
Nice.
The film based on the game. I definitely am carrying a little bit of allegiance for the game into my viewing of the movie, but I think that the movie just does a really solid job of creating a unsettling ambiance. That's the kind of thing that I really respond to in horror movies. I'm there for the atmosphere, and I thought the atmosphere was just so creepy here.
Yes.
The general premise of wandering essentially an endless hallway trying to spot anomalies or things that are wrong just lends itself really well to sort of vicariously putting you in the shoes of the main character. You're kind of forced to lean in and play the game along with them in a way and try and spot details, and I just found that to be a really engaging experience for this film. It's pretty light on details. It doesn't bog you down in too much plot. It's just sort of an experiment in iteration, and I think I really also appreciated Genki Kawamura's use of physical elements and making things practical as possible, you know, building two hallways next to each other so that they could achieve a loop in a long shot, and stuff like that just made it a really enjoyable horror experience for me.
Yeah, me and Chase ended up catching this one, and I think we both really liked it. Kind of like same vibes, just we were kind of wondering why it wasn't in the midnight category, and I think it might have just been that maybe a different category wanted it more, according to some of the stuff I heard, or just that they didn't think they thought it would be a little bit too subdued for the midnight crowd. But it's a really solid movie, great atmosphere, like you were saying, just repetitive sounds, but in a way that like is chilling, not annoying. I really, it's just, the whole thing is just it's a vibe, and it really pulls you in if you let it.
I almost put it in my top 10. It's like one of the three besides Sentimental Value that I considered putting there.
Same.
I think above anything else, I was trying to think, because I'm not the biggest Last of Us show fan, this might be my favorite video game adaptation. I know there's not like a lot of great ones to pick from.
True.
But in terms of like showing you what the game is in a really like authentic way, but B, the one thing Last of Us did that was I did like was adapting it and, you know, adding elements. This is definitely one. Exit 8 is a very simple game, but it adapts it in a way where there's a switch in perspective. You're like, oh, okay, I did not think we were going to go in this direction. And you learn a little bit more about the lore. But above all else, it is a fun movie, and it looks legit. Zach was sharing stories from the filmmaker about how they pulled off a lot of the filming of it, and sounded really interesting. So I think this one, you should play the game if you can. Like Zach says, $4 on anything you game on. And it's a fun game. And it is a really cool adaptation of that game. I really enjoyed this more than I thought I was going to.
Nice. Glad to hear everybody was a fan of Exit 8, my number 6. Chase, what did you put at number 6 on your list?
A movie that Zach is definitely not going to have on his list. Amanda might. I don't know. I got Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein.
I think I forgot about it.
Oh, shit. Well, I guess
to be fair, I don't think it would be any higher than this. I'd probably have it just out of the 10 based on what I have here. But I think we liked it more than a lot of other people.
I think so. I think
Zach and Caitlin did not like it. I know
Zach and Caitlin did not like it. I know a few other people didn't like it, but I do think
it's more divisive than I expected it to be on the ground.
You say that it was number 2.
It's for People's Choice.
People's Choice movie.
Yeah.
Though to be fair, Amelia Perez was number 2 last year.
Right.
Too.
Well, that's the thing. I think the people who responded to it seem to really respond to it, and then there's me and Caitlin.
Fair.
I like I said on the preview we did, am not the biggest Guillermo del Toro fan, but I was definitely interested in this because I figured it would be an adaptation of the book that I have not read, but here is much better than the Frankenstein depictions. We were all at the same screening. I forget the exact quote Guillermo said of how this adapts the book. He called it like a cousin, or like he took elements he liked of the book, but still made it its own thing, kind of like his version of Pinocchio. He had a really good quote that I don't remember because it was day like 7 and I was exhausted. But
it's fair.
I went into this hoping it was good. I really like it. I do think I'm with a majority of the people that were on the ground of really enjoying this.
I had a great time.
I think you already know the sets are going to be incredible. Like, that shouldn't surprise anybody that a Guillermo del Toro monster movie looks fantastic. The things that surprised me the most were Oscar Isaac and Jacob Elordi, who I guess, I don't know. Like, I know Jacob Elordi's a good actor, but I just heard him as Frankenstein. I'm like, oh yeah, he'll probably be good.
Monster.
And the second I heard his voice, I was like, oh, okay, I am into this. This is right up my alley. Just a really exciting movie. It was the one Netflix movie I saw this year that I'm kind of upset that not everyone will get the chance to see in theaters. Like, it would be really cool to see the new Knives Out in theaters, but I think this more so than that just really benefited from seeing it with as loud of a sound system as you can on a big screen. It looks really good. Maybe some of the CGI.
I was going to say, I think some of the effects are actually going to be given a favor on the home watch versus the theatrical watch.
For sure. Like, there's some things they CGI where I'm like, okay, like that doesn't look as good, but I don't think that takes away from the sets.
No, the sets are really crazy. It opens on like the ice and snow. It's crazy. It looks so good.
Yeah, they got like little embers coming off of certain things, and I don't know. Like, I think maybe it's too blockbustery for some people in certain ways. I would understand that for sure. But looking at my list, I think this is probably my favorite Del Toro movie since Pan's Labyrinth. Maybe that's a hot take. I don't know. I I don't love a lot of, I did not like Shape of Water that much and that kind of subgenre of his movies, but I was really impressed with this. I think it's probably going to sneak into the best picture race. It won't win, but I think there's too many technical things that are really great about it that are great in all of his movies, that production design, costume design, all that kind of stuff is going to be big at the Oscars this year. And I can't emphasize enough. Elordi is fantastic. I really was
he's really good.
Genuinely surprised at how much I liked him.
To
and
me,
I
he's
also
the
think
best part of
Oscar
the movie.
Isaac. Do you think he's the best part of the movie, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's up there. Oscar Isaac, I also think, is great. He really sold me on the Dr. Frankenstein thing. And there's just a couple sequences that really stick with me that I really enjoy. I am actually excited to rewatch this again. I'd be interested to talk to somebody that has read the book and is a diehard fan of the book and see what they say about it. But in terms of comparison to the Universal takes on the monster, this is definitely more up my alley compared to those. I really liked it a lot.
We got a question from the live stream that asking, how was Mia Goth? Her role
was
is
fine.
Great.
probably
She was
a
great.
lot smaller
I thought she was great.
than you're maybe expecting, but she's good in her scenes.
She's good.
I thought she was fine.
She's
but-
very solid.
She also apparently played Dr. Frankenstein's mother, which I did not register. She's in a dual role.
Interesting.
Oh.
Yeah. It goes by so quickly that I didn't notice.
Yeah, I
It's
didn't
kind
know.
of
I only
like
found out
hidden,
after.
but I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure if you're paying attention, for sure. Interesting.
All right, Frankenstein chases number 6. Amanda, what do you have at 6 on your list?
I'm going to go with the other Netflix big one, Wake Up Dead Men, a Knives Out story. I think
Just
some
missed
of this
my
is,
time.
it's just, sometimes it's hype. Sometimes it's hype. I think I really want to rewatch this one. I think the Knives Out movies have done a pretty interesting job where all of them have like a similar through line, but they express themselves in very different ways. Like it would actually make sense to me that someone would love the first one, not like the second one, and like this one. And kind of like, I know people who don't like the first one who like the second one who might end up liking this one more. I just think this one, thought it was really interesting. I think we counted it's like a solid 35 minutes before Daniel Craig hits the screen. I feel like I want to warn people about that. And that's not a bad thing. I actually find the beginning it to be interesting and how it's like building us into what happened and like what's going on in the world we're being dropped in. I had a ton of fun with this one. And again, they're releasing it at the perfect time for people to watch at American Thanksgiving and like Christmas and stuff. And that's going to play really well. But if you're in one of the cities that does the limited theatrical run, I think it's worth it. I think it's nice to have like an audience really engaged in something. So yeah,
It also might be the best looking of the Knives Out movies. I really enjoy the sort of dark gothic look of this one in comparison to the previous. It's a really engaging mystery, which I think you've come to expect from Rian Johnson's take on the Benoit Blanc stuff. But I like that this one has sort of a darker tinge to it, a more conspiratorial tone to it. And that he's really iterating in interesting ways, and that this is not the same movie as Knives Out or the same movie as Glass Onion, even if you've got the thread of the intricate murder mystery and Benoit Blanc connecting them. To me, I would say that I think this is probably my second favorite amongst the trilogy so far.
I think so too. I think there's moments of the second one. I think the second one's funnier. So if you're really into comedy, or just like you kind of like that flow of it, the second one I think is going to deliver over that. But yeah, this one has a real charm to it. I really like Josh O'Connor. His character is really interesting in this too. I think that maybe we could have gotten a little bit more from some of the side characters, even though they do a good job introducing them. I feel like the other Knives Out movies have done maybe a little bit of a better job, like weaseling us in with certain people. But yeah, overall, still really, really enjoyable. It's long, but that's okay.
It's a lot easier to imagine cutting out a couple characters from this film than any of the previous films.
Absolutely. That's the vibe.
Yeah, but still an enjoyable time. Chase, did you catch it?
I did catch it, yeah.
Right next to me. They didn't like it as much. He and Olivia
I
didn't
do
like
like it, for sure.
Yeah.
I kind of fall in the same category with almost all of the Knives Out movies. I feel bad because I'm purely going off memory. I tried to rewatch the first one on my crazy turbulence flight yesterday, and I couldn't do it. I thought Glass Onion was my favorite, and maybe I'm just wrong. I don't know.
No, but a lot of people like Glass Onion a lot because they all, again, they all have different vibes, so there's going to be different reasons.
I guess I'm talking to everybody on the ground. Everyone's like, "Oh yeah, Glass Onion's definitely the worst." I'm like, "Oh my god, maybe I'm out of it."
But I feel like that's the worst in a skew of people still enjoying things. You know, like
that's true. I think if you like Knives Out, you're going to like this. I agree with a lot of what you guys said. I don't think this ruined the movie for me because I'm not going to get into spoilers at all, but I do think at film festivals like this, when you have a movie like this, people come out of the premiere saying very specific things about very specific actors, and it kind of already sets your mind to, okay, and these people are going to.
I was going la 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 every time it came up. I was aggressive. I was like, shut the fuck. I'm like, no, I just want to say no, shut. I don't want to know if you liked it. I don't want to know if you didn't like it.
I don't know if either of you seen the trailer. I even avoided that.
I skipped that.
Yeah,
I skipped it, but got spoiled who dies because Discussing Film likes to tweet those kinds of things.
Yeah, and then I knew someone died. So
but you don't want to know who. You don't want to know who when you're watching the movie for the first time at a film festival premiering the movie.
There was a chance that no one died, Chase. There's a chance that no one died in this one, Chase. It could have just been something else. It could have been different. That's true. You know, and you ruined that for me. You took that from what the title's Wake Up Dead Man, so you know.
That's true.
Yeah.
You know. Anyway,
they all die.
Obviously.
Which might be a spoiler in and of itself, too. Yeah. Anyway, we will continue on from Amanda's number 6, Wake Up Dead Man, to my number 5, which is a movie that I was not expecting to react to as much as I did. I've got The Lost Bus, the new film from Paul Greengrass. This is a movie that will be hitting Apple TV Plus in about a month, so it's not that long of wait for anybody at home. I don't know. I think Paul Greengrass, there are times where I find him hit or miss. I'm a big fan of his work on the Bourne movies, or at least the first couple of them. I also think Captain Phillips is great, but, you know, I don't know. I feel like there's also a low floor to the movies that he makes. And this one, which is based on the true story of a bus driver who helped evacuate a group of elementary school children from the 2018 Paradise, California wildfires on a school bus. I don't know, it could go either way. I just found it to be a really riveting survival thriller, just a edge of your seat action movie that it depicts fire in a way that I've never quite seen before. It manages to make wildfires seem both extremely powerful and deceptively fast, just like moving across the countryside like a specter or some kind of otherworldly ghost. It's really terrifying at points. And you have Matthew McConaughey at the center of it, just giving a genuine movie star performance that you can't help but really root for him and want to see him succeed. I thought this was just like plain solid entertainment, making a really good film from this true story. It blew me away in some ways.
Nice. Yeah, we didn't catch it, so we can't weigh in.
It'll be out really soon. You don't really need to. It just fits so perfectly in my schedule. Yeah. Nice. In theaters, actually this weekend, it's already limited theatrical release in the US. Yeah.
So like 2 theaters in New York and 2 in Los Angeles.
Exactly. But yeah, definitely worth checking out once it's available.
Nice.
I'm looking forward to it.
Chase, what do you have at number 5 on yours?
My number 5, I don't believe either of you caught. I watched and almost walked out of because it was kind of a hard watch. The Voice of Hind Rijab, which is
I couldn't catch it.
A very powerful movie from the director that did 4 Daughters, which I've never seen, but I believe you guys are pretty big
Heavy
fans
as hell.
of.
Yeah, Art particularly loves that film, but it's excellent.
Okay, I definitely have to watch it. And if that one's heavy, this one might be just as heavy, if not heavier. I don't know. If you don't know, Hind Rijab was a 6-year-old in Palestine that was stuck in a car getting shot at, and she was trying to make a phone call to get rescued. So the film is fictional in the sense that you have actors re-portraying the events, but the phone call is the real phone call from Hind Rijab. So,
which I've heard, and it's horrifying.
Yeah, so it's a fuse of documentary and fiction filmmaking in a really pretty impressive way. There is a certain sequence that they do that blends the fictional and documentarian elements that I don't want to spoil towards the end, that is like really impressive. And one thing when I go to film festivals, I don't need every film to be like a 10 out of 10 perfect masterpiece, but there's always things that I look forward to seeing of like, oh, I've never seen that before.
Right.
And there's
Right.
a sequence in this where I had never seen that before. And I really appreciate when I see movies like this. It is a very hard watch. It is the hardest watch of the year for me. This was the only time I've been to a film festival where they preface the movie with, if you need to walk out of this, we have people that you can just talk to outside. And I've never seen that for a movie before. And not that I would have to talk to a person, but there comes a point where you're like, okay, this is really hard. I might have to step out for a second. Really, really powerful filmmaking. I think it's really good. I would say the only thing that holds it back is literally, it is an impressive way to tell the story. I do think you can only make such a good movie out of that premise of incorporating the fictional element to the phone call that I don't think the movie is necessarily extraordinary, even though I do think it is a very hard story to tackle, and she did as good of a job as I think you could have done telling the story. We'll see what happens with the film itself. It's a bad comparison, but I think if there's no Best Picture frontrunner, kind of like how Spotlight won the Best Picture, where I'm lower on Spotlight than a lot of people, but I think a lot of people from that year would say it wasn't necessarily the best movie of that year anyway. I could see this being in that category of a very solid movie that won't win a ton of Oscars, but could, with the subject matter, sneak in that race. But I think they're still trying to figure out distribution. Even though when you get to the credits, there comes a point where it's like so many A-list people that just put their name on it to help finance the movie.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, I think it's really good. Probably wouldn't have a desire to rewatch it, but I do think it's definitely a top 5 at the festival for me.
Yeah. Movies like that are always so difficult to fit in a film festival, particularly because the film festivals ask you to go from maybe being emotionally devastated at 11 a.m. to watching a laugh out loud comedy by noon.
Yeah.
I wasn't personally ready for that emotional whiplash at the festival, but everybody we spoke to who saw it was really devastated by this film. That blend of documentary and fiction is also something that they incorporate in Four Daughters. So interesting to see that they've sort of continued that almost like meta-narrative element here with this latest film.
Her shtick.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Amanda, what do you have at your number 5?
Maybe I need to check this one out again because I feel like I came out a lot higher. Actually, me and Chase did. So maybe it should even be higher on this list. But I really like Nouvelle Vague, the new Linklater movie about the French New Wave cinema. I don't know. I had a great time with it. I didn't know it was all in French. I didn't know it was all black and white. I traditionally, if I know I want to see something, try to look into it as little as possible. But I just thought it was like really interesting. I had a great time. It had a good energy. It had a nice flow to it. It doesn't take itself too seriously, for as pretentious as that premise sounds. We are Zoe Deutsch lovers here, so it was great to see her
in this house
in a bigger role like that, playing kind of like an iconic actress from decades ago. I had a really good time with it. So it was my first movie of the festival, other than the one that I saw the day before. But yeah. You're surprised that Zoe Deutsch can speak. Well, as someone who speaks French, she can kind of speak French. I actually don't know how much she understands what she says. I think she probably had lines and learned to say the lines. She probably understands it a little bit. She fits
for the role.
Un petit peu, she fits for the role. But yeah, you can definitely tell that she's not someone who has been taught to speak French with some of like the pronunciation and stuff. But like, no shade, it's really cool that she did speak French when she did, because the actress clearly knew how to speak French for the role she was doing there. I thought that was great. I had tons of fun with that one.
It is my number 3.
It's your number 3.
Oh, there we go.
That's what I mean. It could probably be higher on mine, but everybody was all like, and I was just like, maybe I'm wrong. I'm not. It was fun. It was really nice.
I really don't know if we're wrong.
I don't think we're wrong.
That being said, so my top 2 are like movies I think are objectively kind of great or fantastic. And I think Nouvelle Vague is a very good movie that's just like so up my alley. I'm not even like a new wave fanatic. I'm not going to act like one of these cinephiles where it's like I'm watching a new wave movie every 3 days. That is not really who I am. But I do love, as a guy that wants to make movies one day, I love movies about making movies. And I think from the first line of the movie, I had the biggest smile on my face.
Yeah, I was just like
Amanda said, in my head, I thought this was going to be, because of the filmmakers attached. I think the types of people that are into movies now, like us, we kind of grew up thinking that these guys are more pretentious than they actually were. And you get to this movie and it's just a Richard Linklater hangout movie with them. And you're like, oh, they were chill as fuck. They were just cool people.
He is pretentious, but everyone makes fun of him for it.
Exactly. You know? And this is, I think I put my Letterboxd review like the Martin Scorsese Avengers movie. They have everybody from this age in the movie and they give them a little intro card.
Yeah, it's so good.
I did not think I was going to like this as much as I did. And I really want to watch it again. Like it has grown on me as it goes. Like Amanda said, it is all in French. I just heard Linklater doing this movie. I didn't think I thought this was going to be in English the whole time.
Yeah.
So when I get in there, they're actually speaking French. It's actually in black and white, like the black and white thing I figured he would do. But
it's crazy.
I don't know. As much as I love Linklater, he's got to be a top 5 filmmaker of all time for me, just because his highs are like some of my highest favorite movies ever. But I haven't really liked a lot of his stuff since Boyhood. This is definitely my favorite since Boyhood. I wish I caught Blue Moon, but
yeah, Blue Moon's very good.
Amanda said, well, she didn't like it as much as this, so I feel a little less bad.
Yeah, and I do really like it. I think I just might have been not in the best mood for it at the time, but it was like I woke up the next day and I was like, I did really like that. That was really good. So he's got 2 wins right now,
there you
Mr.
go.
Linklater, for the festival.
Yeah, it's going to bore a lot of people. The biggest complaint I saw is like, what did we learn from this that we didn't know about Breathless? It's like, I don't know.
Some people don't know anything about the movie. I think some people were like, you'd get more out of it if you've seen Breathless. And I'm like, I actually don't know if that's true. Maybe some things might be like, oh, that's cool. Or it might just encourage a bunch of people to go see Breathless who've never seen it.
And it also to me is like Linklater's been doing this for a while. It's like, what's the point of watching these two people walk around before sunrise? What's the point of all these these high school kids just planning a party on the last day of high school for Dazed and Confused? It's like there's no point to any of his movies a lot of the times, but I still find them fascinating.
They're
and
great.
I think this is no different. I was really happy watching this.
He's a fantastic writer, and you see that absolutely in Blue Moon. It's literally just like an hour and a half or an hour and 40 minutes of Ethan Hawke just like nonstop. Really charming. So it's nice that he had two wins of the festival for sure.
And if you enjoy the hangout, nothing else really matters, right?
Yeah.
There you go. And if I can make 2 more points real quick, I'm sorry. Sorry, I cut you off. But Through the Lens is asking, is it bad to say that I don't like Breathless? No, because I was like that 3 weeks ago. I did rewatch it on the flight there. I did enjoy it more, but I'm not the biggest Breathless person. I think that is what makes me so surprised that I like the movie as much as I do, because I'm not somebody that's going to pretend I don't love a classic. Breathless is just not on my top 100 movies of all time, and I don't think that that's an issue.
I don't think so.
But this is so up my alley. I think it makes you appreciate that era of filmmaking a lot more. If I had a complaint, I do think Breathless is a movie that really changed the game of editing. And I think once we get to the part of editing the film, it is like so stunningly short compared to the filming that I thought there would be more to that.
That could have been interesting.
And I think it wraps up super fast. And I was like, oh, okay. Like I kind of wanted 20 to 30 more minutes of this.
Yeah.
And not even like, I wish I could keep watching this movie. More just like, it feels like they should have told the story a little bit more. But that is my small complaint in a movie that I do think could end up on my top 10 of the year. I can't believe how much I enjoyed this.
Yeah, absolutely. Blue Moon didn't make my list. Maybe it should have, but I guess I just thought I had to pick between Linklaters. But that one's also really good, so definitely check it out. And it's interesting. It's 2 movies about him basically taking a person from a period of creative history and like making a story out of it. One's just over the course of one evening, and one is over the course of the entire creation of a movie. So I think it's there's a lot of value there for different reasons. So that is my number 5.
Nice. All right. Nouvelle Vague, Amanda's number 5. Chase's number 4, 3?
3.
3. Wow.
Hell yeah, brother.
Looking forward to catching up with that movie. My number 4 is Dead Man's Wire, the new movie from Gus Van Sant.
Nice.
I thought this was just a really enjoyable crime heist movie of sorts based on a true story set in 1977 about a former real estate developer that puts a dead man switch on himself and kidnaps the mortgage banker who did him wrong, demanding $5 million and a personal publicly broadcasted apology. It's got a really solid cast with Bill Skarsgård playing the infamous Tony Kuritzkis, the kidnapper, and people like Dockery Montgomery, Coleman Domingo, who has a voice made for radio, the role that he's playing in this film. You got Al Pacino doing a lot of acting into the phone. Carrie Elwes, Myhila, a lot of familiar faces. I think this is just a really enjoyable heist movie, crime movie of sorts, with a backdrop of social unrest and the divide between the haves and the have-nots. There's something that is very contemporary in this story of the elites and the ruling class taking things and taking opportunities from the average everyday person, your
and the
common
lack of
man.
empathy that starts being seen towards those people, because why the hell would we care about you when you spend all of your time screwing us over?
It's set in 1977, but it's very Luigi Mangione coded for sure. Yeah. And it's also a movie with a lot of humor. I've found myself surprised with quite how much I was laughing and how much the jokes hit in this film. Really entertaining, but beyond entertaining, has some interesting interesting things to say as well. I really enjoyed Dead Man's Wire. It's a really nice return to form for Gus Van Sant.
I will be the devil's advocate.
Outlier?
I thought it was okay. I didn't dislike it by any means, but I do think maybe it was a little further in the festival for me, and that could be it. But I walked out like I thought it was okay, but I do think there's a lot of really good things. Like it is a very interesting true story to make a movie out of. Bill Skarsgård's still proving he's one of the best in the business.
Genuinely funny.
And it's not like a one-to-one comparison, but when I saw Caught Stealing, I was like, I need Austin Butler to be in a more just regular guy role for me to be like, this guy's one of the current greats. This isn't like necessarily a regular guy role, but it's more regular than Pennywise.
It's a regular guy role in the sense that like the man's crazy, but also not crazy. Like and then that's so unpredictable. You just don't know. He keeps doing things and saying things that you're like, I am terrified, but then also like, I'm not going to do that. I'm not like, come on, man. What? Really solid performance there. Yeah.
The second act is a little bit bumpy. It feels like it's almost like missing a little bit of the arc, but I still really enjoyed the journey that it took us on.
In an area. Yeah.
And I don't know if this is attached anywhere yet. Josh is asking which studio will pick this up. I don't know if it's going to end up at a Neon. I feel like it might be something a little bit more middle of the road, maybe IFC or something like that.
I was literally
ultimately,
just about to say IFC.
Yeah.
Well, now apparently it has distribution through Roquet Entertainment.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's one of the new Roquet ones. Interesting.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that ends up.
Nabbed Charlie Harper out of the festival, so they're really kind of going at those,
Yeah. Interesting. All right. Hopefully it won't be too long until we see Dead Man's Wire. My number 4, Chase, what do you have a number 4 on your list?
Might show up on Amanda's. I don't know at this point. I'm assuming so. No Other Choice. Park Chan-wook?
Like higher.
Okay. We can wait for that one then.
Cool.
Probably, I'm assuming. But that is my number 4.
Cool.
Amanda, what do you have a number 4 on your list?
So many of these movies are just bouncing around, but I think I'll go Eternity. I realize that that's not going to be the movie for everyone. I realize that some people are going to be annoyed that it maybe goes through every possible logic tree it can, kind of exploring this idea of, what happens when you die and you get to choose your eternity and the people that you've loved in life and like who you've built a life with and who you had a life stolen. Like, I don't know. I was balling for the last hour of this thing. It was bad, but it's also really funny. So you got Miles Teller, you've got Callum Turner. Yeah, Turner and Elizabeth Olsen, all playing beautifully off of one another. There's so many funny moments, and then you get like a lot of comic relief out of Divine Joy Randolph and John Early, who have this incredible vibe with each other as the afterlife coordinators, the people that are going to try to help them pick where they want to end up going. I think it's an interesting idea to explore. And I liked it a lot. Again, this is probably so high up because I like Chase and Christy. I was just bawling for like a solid hour of the movie. So I got to give it its dues there. Eternity will be my number 4.
And I'll back you up a little bit. It's in my top 15 at the moment. And it starts off the first like 20 minutes. I'm like, okay, this is a solid idea. But the writing, like, it just wasn't really my thing. I think once it starts really going, it is super effective at being like that heartwarming / kind of devastating / funny rom-com kind of movie. I think it gets close to maximizing the idea a lot of the times and do a lot of interesting things with the afterlife idea that I haven't really seen before in a movie.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't wait to take my girlfriend to this. I think she will be crying a ton.
Hell yeah.
I do think it's going to be a mainstream, not like a hit, like $100 million at the box office, but I do think
it'll
people that
resonate.
watch this in the public are really going to like it a lot.
It's going to hit with the people that like the right people, and I think the right people are going to end up being a pretty large demographic. So
yeah.
When I was putting together my list of films to see at TIFF, I ultimately decided like, oh, this one looks cute. I can probably miss it. And then I kept hearing that this was great, and people like you started name dropping Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, and now I'm very frustrated that I didn't get around to seeing it. But I think this one has a release date in November. So
if it helps,
Yes.
I wouldn't put it on par with an Eternal Sunrise, but it is kind of that similar exploration of like emotions and life, but then just played up for a lot of more comedy for sure. But yeah, I like it a lot.
Yeah, and then I didn't mention it earlier, but Nouvelle Vague, which we were just talking about, it'll be out late October and then on Netflix November 14th. So don't have to wait super long for that one either. But glad that you enjoyed Eternity as much as you did, putting it number 4 on your list. Before we do our number 3s, do we want to run through some honorable mentions? I don't know if either of you have lists.
Yeah.
I'll just mention a few of mine. Amanda, you already mentioned Wake Up Dead Man and Mile End Kicks. I'm sure we're going to talk about a couple of these as well, but Waste Man is a movie that I found some time for, and it's a really solid prison drama with some excellent performances from David Johnson and Tom Blythe, and some really awesome needle drops as well. Orphan, which is the new film from Son of Saul filmmaker Lajlon Lemis, is a interesting story about a boy who is told that his father died in World War II, but then certain things about his parents are revealed to him, and it changes not only what he thinks of his parents, but what he thinks of himself. Really complicated but interesting film. I enjoyed the documentary The Eyes of Ghana, directed by Ben Proudfoot, which takes a look at the work of Ghanaian filmmaker Chris Hesse and what it was like for him to be adjacent to so much of Ghanaian history and capturing that, and also the effort to digitize and keep the films that he worked on alive for a new generation of Ghanaians. And then Amoeba, a really interesting coming of age tale about a group of girls at a Singaporean school who decide to form a gang, and it's sort of just their rebellious nature and their coming to terms with who they are and trying to develop identity against the backdrop of a country that is so built on myth, and the ways in which that sort of gives them like unsolid footing to know themselves. And some really interesting things going on in that film, Amoeba. Chase, any movies that just missed your cut?
I'm going to take a slightly different approach. I won't do the ones that just missed my cut, but 3 that I just want to shout out. So the first one is called Copper. It is directed by Nicolas Pereira, who taught me in film school. So it was super cool to be able to catch one of his movies
That's really
at the film festival. And admittedly, he is a filmmaker that makes very slow movies, not my kind of movie. And I think he knows that. But this is a genuine movie I enjoyed. He takes a bit more of a comedic approach to his slow style of filmmaking here. And I was pretty impressed with what I saw. Like, I do think it is not going to be for everyone's cup of tea. Like I said, he's very good at making his slow filmmaking kind of movies, but he won a Guggenheim Award, grant, whatever that is, for a reason. He's a super talented guy. I got to catch up with him. So I do want to give a special shout out to that. And yeah, Nico's the man. So saw that. And then 2 movies that aren't necessarily like in the 11th or 12th spot, but they are movies I'm still thinking about and did enjoy. Kind of fall in the same category for me are Sound of Falling and Surat. Sound of Falling more so than Surat. I think I like it more. It is just a lot of movie to take in on a first viewing, especially someone like me. I try and go in as blind as possible. And I still recommend watching movies that way, but I do think Sound of Falling has so many things going on, and as soon as you think you know what's going on, it switches up how it's telling the story multiple times, and there are a lot of things you're like, wait, does this connect to this? Is there a through line with all these stories? Is there not? If there's any movie that demands a second watch from this list of movies, it is Sound of Falling, just to feel like you are getting everything. I told you guys, as soon as me and Tyler walked out this week, couldn't stop talking about it. Not that means we loved it, but I do like the idea of her making a video like how Christopher Nolan explained Memento, even though Memento is not really a movie that needs to be explained, him on the chalkboard or whatever that was, drawing it out. Right. I need her to do that with this movie. I need to get what's going on in her head of like, I think I know elements of things going on here. Is there a ghost in this? Are there multiple ghosts? Am I crazy for thinking that? I don't know. There are so many things that show up like 17 different times and you're like, but why is this showing up now? It's just a lot of movie to think about, and I like movies like that. I don't want to act like I understand it because I'm not one of those people, but it is something I have been thinking about. So I want to give that a shout out. I do think Surratt kind of fits in that category. Me and Amanda both saw it and had a similar feeling walking out of like, we liked it. Feel like we should think about it more or watch it a second time. There's a lot of things I really like about it. It is going for Mad Max Fury Road vibes, kind of like slightly, but not really. The score
You're the second person to tell me that it's got something in common with Mad Max Fury Road. So
like on a very surface level feel when you're hearing the music and certain shots come up, you're like, okay, this is the vibe they're going for. It's about a father and his son trying to find his daughter at a rave where she disappeared, and they kind of start going on an adventure with a bunch of other ravers. And it is a movie that clearly has a lot going on that I feel like if I watched this early in the festival, I would pick up on some more things. Me and Amanda were discussing it a bit after the film finished. It's just one that has stuck with me for a lot. I do think it has a lot of satisfying moments. There's a couple line deliveries before something happens that I think personally are kind of corny, but it is a movie, once it comes out, I would love to hear other people's thoughts on. I did enjoy it, but I wouldn't say it's one of my favorites of the festival so far, but I could see it growing on me.
That's fair. I kind of feel the same. I just need that. There's a quote on screen at the beginning. I just need that written out for me right now. I just need to know. I need to know what was the quote at the beginning of the movie, because that reframes the movie. Mm-hmm. So if somebody is coming into a movie late and steps in front of you when the English translation's going off, you're going to miss part of it because
it's a long quote. So you're kind of trying to.
So it's going too fast. It was going too fast.
Of what Surratt actually means.
Yeah. So it's like the road to between like heaven and the afterlife and hell or something in Islamic. It's like Ansadat if you have it together. So we're walking out of this movie being like, how literal is any of this? What is is it metaphorical on grief affecting you from being able to focus on the other things that are important in your life? Like, we don't know anymore. Either way, it's a movie that I'm again very interested to see other people talk about it, and hopefully those people will be smarter than me and maybe not like 29 movies in on the last day of a film festival. For me, some of my honorable mentions, I know these might actually be listed higher on their list, so I will say Ann Lee and Tuner. Are those both on people's lists higher?
One of those is on my list.
Yeah, I figured Zach would have Tuner. I knew you would have Ann Lee. So we'll leave those. Zach already mentioned Exit 8. I think I'll go Blue Heron here, which is another really great Canadian movie that came through that has some similarities with like something like After Sun, where it's somebody later in life reframing things from their childhood to try to figure out what might have been going on. I think this might have ended up higher on my list had the version. So we ended up seeing a version of the movie, me and Caitlin, that did not have the subtitles attached. So I'm watching and I'm like, and it's not all in another language, but there are sections that are in another language.
Enough of it is in another language.
And I was just like, is this like a creative choice that she's like overhearing her parents and remembers overhearing them, but has forgotten the language enough that she doesn't quite know what's being discussed? Is this like a crazy? So it kind of would have worked on that. And Blue Moon, again, was really solid, easily could have been in the list. And other than that, maybe A Poet. A Poet was pretty interesting. It's literally there's a line in the movie where it's like, no, you see, Oscar's he's a fuck up, he's a screw up, but he doesn't hurt other people. He only ever hurts himself, and that's like the perfect quote to go into a poet thinking about. Is that everything that happens, he's only hurting himself. And actually, maybe I'll throw some love to Baby Star, which is a movie about a family vlog channel where like their daughter is a huge deal, and then they decide that they might want to have another kid, and it's definitely more so just because they really want to, it seems like it's more because they want to be able to market a newborn and kind of have this new experience. And like they realize that the daughter's going to age out soon and they want to be able to keep doing it. And then just how that affects a child who spent her whole life being validated in this way and only getting love and attention from her parents for as much as she could garner views on the internet for them. So I think it's really interesting. I think we're going to get a bunch of movies like this down the line as more of these stories come out. There's so many people have been sent to jail now for child abuse. People have been kicked off platforms. So I think this is just scratching the surface of how deep it's going to go. But I think it did a really good job accurately portraying what that looks like.
Yeah, that's another great pick. I forgot to put that in my honorable mentions, but there's a lot going on in that movie.
Yeah,
Pretty interesting, fun baby star. Did I say Erupcia? I don't know if I
You didn't say
remembered to say
Erupcia. You didn't say Erupcia.
I really liked Erupcia for reasons both personal and not personal. I enjoy that kind of mumblecore-ish tone. I almost tried to justify putting that in my top 10, but
that's fair.
Alas, I did not. But anyway, let's get back to our top threes, and I'm kicking it off with a movie called The Tale of Silyan that I'm pretty sure I'm the only one of us that got to see.
I believe so.
Although I'm not sure if any of you saw Honeyland, which was a twice nominated for Oscars film from 2019, 2020, something like that, from Macedonia. It pulled off the rare Best International Feature and Best Documentary Feature duo. That was a really excellent film from Tamara Kotevska, which tells sort of a story about humans and our impact on the world we live in and nature through gorgeously filmed nature photography. And this is also a film that meets all of those criterias. This one is the story of small farmers and those roles disappearing, particularly in Macedonia, as different pressures of capitalism and other factors make it difficult to sustain that kind of life. And sort of what happens to nature and the farmlands as these places go unoccupied and families leave this lifestyle behind. And it tells the story of all this happening through this unlikely friendship between an old farmer whose family has abandoned farm life for work in Germany, and his unlikely friendship with a stork that broke its wing. It's kind of like a Disney movie for adults. It is really sweet and very beautiful. It's got this kind of planet Earth-esque photography of storks flying through the air and hunting and stuff like that. But it's also got this really interesting story about culture and how life is changing for these small-time Macedonian farmers. I thought it was a really moving film. I think it's easily one of the best documentaries I've seen this year. Nice. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's something that, like Tamara's last film, is around in discussions of the Oscar shortlist or potential nominations.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I want to see some good stork photography.
Yeah, right? Dude, they got these shots of the storks with like lightning storms going on in the background. It's the most badass stork photography you've ever seen. But something that is really cool they were talking about during the Q&A is they filmed this film for so long that a generation of storks that were babies when they started were grown into fully adults by the time they ended. And as a result, the drones they were using for drone photography, those babies grew up with the drones around, so they weren't scared of them.
Crazy.
And it allowed the drones to get really, really close in a way that most animals would be terrified of.
Oh, wow.
That's really cool. Yeah.
So The Tale of Silyan, I'm putting that at number 3 on my best films of TIFF.
Nice.
Sweet.
Chase.
And Nouvelle Vague was my number 3, which we already talked about. So
let's go right back to Amanda.
Back to me. So I feel like my next two choices might be recency bias. I think I just had a lovely day with Poetic License. We're going to go with Poetic License. I thought I was going to like this one going into the festival, but I really ended up loving it. I thought this was so funny. I'm always a sucker for movies that really stress the point that, like, it doesn't matter how old you get, like, most people aren't going to have it together. Everyone's always looking for answers. Everyone's always trying to figure out their place in the scheme of the world. And then, I just really enjoyed it. Cooper Hoffman is fantastic in this. They are trying to juggle kind of three different storylines here with, Leslie Mann, who, so I didn't mention this is directed by Judd Apatow's daughter. did a great job. But like, she's someone who's just moved because the husband got a job at university. So she's auditing this like creative writing poetry class, and just kind of trying to figure out what to do next now that she's not working, and her daughter's starting to grow up and kind of maybe pushing her away a little bit, just because, teenagers need to do their thing and make friends and make connections, and she's not quite ready for that to happen. And then she starts making friends with these two young boys. The other one is
Andrew Barth Feldman, very, very funny in this movie.
That's the one. Really great dynamic between the three of them. I absolutely loved it. I just thought it was such a delight. It was very fun, and I do think it gets to the heart of some issues. I just had a good time with it. So maybe we just need the vibes right now. So I'm giving the vibes votes for some of these movies. But yeah, I'm gonna top that in my 3.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a really interesting movie, just sort of about this like desire to feel special and sort of wanting to be seen as special in another person's eyes, especially when you really find that person special too.
Yeah.
And doing it in this unexpected way with this sort of generational story. But you were mentioning, it has those 3 storylines with Cooper's character, Andrew's character, Leslie's character, but it also, I think, has enough time for Nico Parker's character to be explored and Method Man's character even to be explored.
True.
I think our girl Maisie Stella in this movie as well.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought it was really delightful. I think just the repartee is really fun.
It's really good.
It made me laugh out loud a little more than I was expecting to, but it is very much in the Apatovian mold. So I guess I shouldn't be surprised.
I find kids don't match up to their parents, and I feel like this is a very, very strong first movie. I was like, really, I thought it was really good.
Yeah, it was a really good time. Very delightful. Good choice for your number 3, Poetic License. I think that brings me back to my number 2, and I'm going to go with Tuner. I hoped that this one would be really good. I didn't expect it to be quite as good as it was. This is a really delightful, old-fashioned movie, and the first narrative film from director Daniel Royer, who has previously made some documentaries you might have seen, including Navalny and Once We Were Brothers. Doing a really excellent job here with this story that has a really cool hook to it, and from there extrapolating a whole world. It's the story of a piano tuner who has hearing addition. He has a condition where he hears more than the average person and needs to utilize like noise canceling headphones and earplugs and stuff like that, and then using his gifts to help crack safes. And from there, the movie spills out in a lot of really interesting ways, with some great performances. Leo Woodall, who I'd previously seen only on, was it season 2?
White Lotus
of
season 2,
White Lotus, where he's very funny. But here he's like a whole leading man. He's got this strong silent thing going on where you just lean in wanting him to show you a little bit more.
The little baby eyes, his little sensitive, like might cry at any moment eyes.
Yeah, really, really captivating on the big screen. You have Dustin Hoffman being a delightful old man. Havana Rose Liu, very good in this one as well. I really enjoy when John Reno shows up a little bit later in this film. It's just like really good twist on a crime movie. The kind of like old-fashioned, engaging, suspenseful thriller. It's got some comedy. It's got some really good moments. It's just a really good time at the movies that I feel like it's the kind of movie you could see with anybody. I'd see it with my friends. I'd see it with my parents. Absolutely. I enjoyed seeing it with y'all in Toronto. So would definitely recommend people put Tuner on their radar.
Yeah, great choice. I kind of just left it off mine because I figured you'd have it. But yeah, it's so good.
I almost put it over Sentimental Value. I was very close. I'm kind of back and forth with it. I think, like you said, Zach, this is a very basic idea for a movie, but it is like just a good movie. You know, we don't get a lot of those these days sometimes.
Yeah,
but
it's a movie.
Really good idea. And I'm always big on, are you maximizing the idea that you have? And I think they play with his condition in a very interesting way for a thriller in a lot of points, without getting too deep into it, where you're like, oh shit, like you're all like, I didn't even think they would do something like this. You know what I mean? So it plays with that idea in a lot of creative ways. There's a couple sequences that I think intertwine between different sequences going on that are really impressive. I also think is a really good ending. I like this ending a lot.
Really strong ending.
Yeah. And one of the things that I think people aren't talking about enough is I'm so sick and tired of movies like this not having believable chemistry. The two people in this movie that are building a relationship feel believable. They feel like real young people. They feel like they're actually building something. And it's one of those little things that I don't know. It makes me buy into the movie a lot more. And I feel like in my heart I should have put this at number 10 over Sentimental Value, but Sentimental Value is still very good. And I keep thinking about that one too. So, but Tuner, I think is going to be a big indie hit for a lot of people that are in this space. I don't see a lot of people disliking this movie.
Yeah. Feels to be a little bit like in the mold of Hitman, where it's not necessarily the splashiest movie, but just a really good, well-made piece of entertainment. And I also feel like the sound design in particular is something that brings this movie up a level.
For sure.
Yeah. So my number 2 is Tuner. Let's go back to Chase for his number 2.
Yeah, this might be your guys' number 1 if you saw it here. I don't know. It's Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie. The one movie that set back my sleep schedule for the rest of the festival, but I don't regret it going to this Midnight Madness screening the first night. This is directed by Matt Johnson. I am admittedly someone that never really watched the show, even though I am a fan of The Dirties and Blackberry. Dirties is one of my favorite movies in a while. Blackberry is one of my favorite movies of the past couple of years. So I'm not surprised that I like this movie, but I am surprised as someone that had literally only seen one episode that Zach showed me the night before that you don't need to know. It's probably you'll get the most out of the experience, I'm assuming, if you have seen the show and go into this. But as someone that had only seen one episode and just liked Matt Johnson as a director and a writer, I thought this was pretty damn hilarious in an era where we don't have a lot of hilarious movies. There are a couple bits in here. There's one funny bit that I thought of multiple times on our trip, and I would just laugh to myself like a freak. And I miss movies like that where there's a joke so good that you remember it a few days later and still laugh, that I think are genius. I think there is one sequence that we are still debating. Is that real? Did they pull it off? And when that sequence happens, my jaw was on the fucking floor for 8 minutes. Like as soon as I saw what they were starting to do, I was like, there is no fucking way they're about to do this. And
genuinely, when is the last time that a comedy has left your jaw on the floor?
Exactly.
It's crazy.
And I won't go into like what the story is if somebody doesn't know what the movie's about, but they do a creative play on a very specific genre trope. This movie is just like so funny, you know? And I know that's a very basic way of explaining it, but I do think it's one of those movies that the less you know going into like the movie itself, like watch some of the show if you can, but this movie
even just to get a vibe.
It's just genuinely hilarious. You know, it is something that is very up my alley. It made us go to the Rivoli multiple times after on our trip to play pool and just hang out. This movie, I want to talk about more when it comes out. I don't want to spoil. I feel like comedy is kind of like horror where you don't want to know the big scares or the big bits. Yeah. So I feel like talking about it too much kind of gives a disservice to somebody that hasn't had the chance to see it yet. Yeah. But I was cracking up at this movie. And we used to live in an era where you would crack up at movies 3 or 4 times a year. Now it's like once every 2 years, it feels like.
Sometimes,
But yeah, I was a big fan of this, and I can't wait for it to come out and watch it again.
Yeah, this would absolutely be my one if we hadn't seen it already. 2 times at South by Southwest.
Yeah, this is your 3rd time.
That was my 3rd time seeing it,
crazy.
and it still stuck. It was really cool to see how Canadian audiences reacted to certain bits at certain moments because there were some very Canadian-specific things in it. Basically, their whole shtick is that they're trying to play the Rivoli, and the Rivoli is just this like kind of dive bar-ish pool hall. That nothing special. It's just a solid place to hang, but that's their whole shtick.
It's special to me.
It's special to me too, but and it's special to them. That's their whole shtick. They're just trying to play the Rivoli.
It's ultimately just a movie about friendship, right? It's these guys have had this dream for a long time.
Friendship.
Exactly. You know? And it's a beautiful male friendship at that. I agree. I would have had this as my number 1 of the festival had I not already seen it. But the Midnight Madness screening was beautiful. It was special.
Yes. One of my favorite screenings. We got to see the art
festival movie. I've got the Jay McCarroll
there
shit.
There you go.
Never
Love
Come
it.
Down. Classic song by Jay McCarroll, of course.
Stream it.
Not anyone else.
I'm so excited for more people to share in on Nirvana,
shout
the band,
out
the show, the
Elevation
movie.
Pictures for like producing that, and the Canadian government. So good job.
and an awesome
Always.
movie to have the mayor of Toronto in the audience for the Q&A
Yeah.
part after.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
truly a once in
Amazing.
a lifetime screening. It was sick.
Truly. Yeah.
We knew it would be great. It lived up to our hype. All right. Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie. Chase's number 2. Amanda, what do you have at number 2 on your list?
Again, this might be coming down to like some recency bias of like, I feel like I maybe had not a rough day of movies, but nothing was really
You were
hitting
ready
me.
for a warm hug.
I was ready for a warm hug, and I got that warm hug in Rental Family. I think maybe I just wasn't expecting it to be that good. So it hits. It is a Brendan Fraser led movie about services in Japan where you can rent family members essentially, or people just to be around you or do things to either help with family issues or to help someone maintain their dignity in a situation. And he creates bonds with two people in this movie in particular that are just so beautiful for different reasons. For how just like gut wrenching it ends up being at times, but it's like beautifully gut wrenching. And I'm just a huge fan of that. And I think it's a really interesting look at a culture, what people are and aren't allowed to do or feel like they struggle to do, and the lengths they have to go to like live their authentic lives. I really enjoyed it. And it's just this person kind of coming out of this funk that they've been in for 7 years, not feeling like they had a place in the world and finding it in a very unusual way.
Yeah, it's real life affirming stuff, and Fraser is such like a teddy bear in this movie. Like he just feels like he needs a hug, and you kind of want to give it to him. It's a really fun, quirky cultural comedy, and they do a couple sort of reveals of, oh, actually this is a rental situation that are very funny and surprising. Like they do some things that really subvert your expectations with this one. I mean it's really one of the most heartwarming movies you'll see. Definitely a pick-me-up in a festival full of dark and depressing films.
It's like the best movie to bring your family to the holidays for this year.
Yeah.
I don't know the release date, but if it's like Thanksgiving or Christmas time in the States, like this is the movie you can bring your
I think
family
it's
to.
sooner than that.
Okay.
It is coming out November 21st, so Thanksgiving, right around there.
Thanksgiving.
So there you go. So if you need something that everyone in the family is going to enjoy, this is the safe bet, I would say.
Yeah.
Most
Unless
likely.
you're Wicked fans, then you'll have something else for Thanksgiving. But
All right, Rental Family is Amanda's number 2. Let's talk about our favorite films from the festival, and I will kick us off with a Canadian film. I'm going with Blue Heron for my choice of the best film I saw there. I was deeply emotionally affected by this film from Sophie Rumvari, I believe is how her name is pronounced, as Amanda was alluding to earlier. This is a really beautiful memory play of sorts in which the director looks back on their childhood and growing up with a couple siblings, especially one somewhat older half sibling. And, you know, in the way that we only have a partial understanding of the world around us when we're children, you're getting just sort of glimpses of the lived in reality from these memories, and you're seeing hints at something that is disturbed about this past. And rather than simply navigate through this as a work of lived in memory of recreating a childhood, I think the thing that makes Blue Heron really, really fascinating is the way in which Sophie widens the scope of her film and sort of takes us through time to uncover what's going on in some metatextual layers, but also in just some like really deeply emotional layers, and allowing her and her characters to experience things and experiencing conversations that we maybe wish we could, that I'm sure she has wished she could, and using that to depict this just emotional vulnerability. I think this is part of a through line of films that we've seen at TIFF this year, Sentimental Value being one of them, of people processing their trauma through art and the how effective that can or cannot be. I just thought this was a really interesting way of approaching this type of material. And I think Chase was alluding to it before. Sometimes you just really respond to seeing something that a movie has never shown you before. And there's a trick or two that she pulls out for this film that I've never quite seen in a movie before. So yeah, I'm making Blue Heron my favorite of the fest.
it's a good pick. It's one I want to definitely rewatch as well. And I had the captions, unlike Amanda and Caleb.
I didn't have the captions. I'm just doing my best out here.
Yeah, but even though I wasn't as high on it as you, I do kind of agree where it's like you're watching it and I can't think of a movie quite like it at the same time. Yeah. And you see the still image of just a girl, you're like, oh, this is going to be a sweet coming of age movie. Kind of like how Christy, you're like, oh, it's going to be a feel good boxer movie. And then it's not that. But I do think a lot of people are really going to like it a lot.
Yeah. And After Sun, which Amanda mentioned, is a good comparison point, especially tonally. Oddly enough, For Daughters is not the strangest comparison to bring up, just in the way that it sort of unpacks itself. But yeah, it is its own unique film.
Absolutely.
Too. Was Blue Heron Olivia's favorite? What was Olivia's favorite from TIFF this year?
Blue Heron and the movie that was my number one. She's got two number one picks
nice.
From this podcast. So
awesome. So let's hear it. What movie landed at number one on your TIFF list?
Man, I was a little skeptical. I kept joking I would like this movie, but I was admittedly very nervous going into it. Last year, I said I liked The Brutalist, and it didn't make my top 10, and I regret it later when I rewatched. I'm like, oh yeah, this is actually incredible. The Testament of Anne Lee from Brady Corbet's wife, who they co-wrote The Brutalist together. They co-wrote this together, but now she is in the director chair.
Mona Fastvold.
Mona Fastvold. This is in the same category of Brutalist as epic movie made for $10 million, projected on 70 millimeter that I got to see. I was kind of nervous going in. I was expecting, because again, if you didn't see the recap, Anne Lee was this woman that was part of the Shaker movement, which is known as the Shaking Quakers. So they are Quaker, they have Quaker beliefs, but they are so sporadic with their movement of how they worship that they're called the Shakers, because it almost looks like, singing, dancing, all these kinds of things. So she was part of this movement, and at one point they theorized, what if Christ came back as a woman? And they believe that Anne Lee, played by Amanda Seyfried, is that second coming of Christ. So in my head, I thought this was going to be a movie about a crazy person in the 1700s that thinks they're Jesus Christ.
Yeah, especially when Peter introduces the movie and tells people to go see the Midnight Madness screening that night. I was like, oh my God, if he's recommending it to this crowd, what are we about to see?
Exactly. And this movie is not that. I would say, if anything, this is almost like you are experiencing a chapter of the Bible just told from her perspective, kind of thing. It's not necessarily, if you're going into the movie,
disciples' perspectives.
Yeah, like if you're going to this movie wanting a dissection of this type of person, I think that's a completely different movie than what this is. But the thing that blew me away about this movie is, like I said, I'm always looking for things that I've never seen that before. And I like a good musical. It's not my go-to genre. This is called a musical, but it's not a traditional musical at all.
Yeah.
But the sequences in which music is involved here, especially the choreography, at one point made me cry, because I was waiting for, like, I need a movie that is going to blow me away. The sequences with music in this is like the equivalent of people when they came out of Fury Road and they're like, the action is unbelievable, or coming out of a Mission Impossible movie and being like, that set piece is unbelievable what Tom Cruise pulled off. I feel the same way about the choreography in this movie.
There is something so just like emotionally overwhelming by seeing so many people, because there's lots of bodies packed into the frame, just having these like big movements because they're throwing their arms out or throwing their waist and bending all the way down. It's just these gigantic movements that, at least in terms of the physicality of it, remind me a little bit in a weird way of the choreography from Gaspar Noé's Climax. If you,
okay,
if
that's a good comparison.
That's what I kind of thought maybe we were gonna get.
Right. It's not that movie at all, but like you can almost see how being in the Shaker movement is so affecting, because just the power of these synchronized movements is really overwhelming to see. It's depicted really beautifully, and we haven't mentioned it yet, but the music is also done by Daniel Blumberg, who did that incredible score for The Brutalist.
And The Brutalist score is hard to top. This comes pretty damn close, though, I think. I'm so upset that there's no release date, because then I don't have a release date for the score on Spotify that I can't listen to it right now, because I was walking out of that movie like, if it comes out this year or if it comes out next year, it's my favorite movie of 2025 or 2026. Nice. so many things. I could see why it doesn't click with a lot of people. It's not really a movie that blew me away from like a storytelling perspective, which is usually the thing I prioritize the most, but it did blow me away in terms of choreography, in terms of music, in terms of just a visual experience. I was about to bring up the editing for this movie. This is the best editing I've seen in a few years for a film.
Yeah.
There is a cut that transitions. So it starts out a little bit of her as a little girl, and there's a scene going on that's pretty intense. And then it cuts to Amanda Seyfried. And I was like, oh, I am fucking in. I am locked in for this movie. Yeah. This is going to be awesome. I think Mona crushed it. The fact that this is another $10 million movie, it's like impossible. These two together are doing the impossible. Stunning. They are saving cinema with making these epics that don't cost $200 million. You see something that looks like sludge that's made for $300 million. You're like, how the hell is that even possible when these two are doing movies like this for $10 million? Amanda Seyfried, I do think Jessie Buckley gives the better performance, but she is still fantastic in this movie. Yeah. I could see some people thinking the last maybe 20 minutes, they wanted a bit more from it. But at the same time, I think it wraps up in a nice bow. And what they do with the credits is really interesting as well. I got to catch Mona and Lewis Pullman, who's also pretty good in this movie, at a Q&A. And something I didn't even think of when she was talking about after watching the movie that she talked about was how the reason she was so interested in Ann Lee is because she really was like the first feminist that ever came to America, the way she's looking at things and the way she's kind of adapting this, just like, regardless of what you think of religion, like she's just like genuinely wants the best for people.
Yeah, she really did just want. And the second coming of Christ never felt like, at least not how it's depicted here, we don't know what she was like in real life, never felt like it was actually like a power grab.
Yeah, and it's not really like a thing that leads a lot of the actions, if that makes sense. Like, it's not like a thing that keeps being brought up.
Mm-hmm.
The movie is completely uncynical about her perspective and her preaching, her positioning herself as this second coming. It really just sort of buys into her premise. And I think it's fascinating how it decides to approach it. Again, like you, Amanda, I think I was not expecting that fully, but it is such a fascinating document. And I think I'm ultimately similar to how, Chase, you responded to The Brutalist last year, where it's like, this is obviously like a lot of movie, and I'm not sure I fully caught up to how much movie this one is giving me. But it is a stunning film.
And I will say, it's hard to compare this to The Brutalist. I think The Brutalist is overall an in total better package, but I do think the sequences here that blew me away more than anything I saw in The Brutalist. So I get them. I'm putting them pretty close together. Even when it gets a little bit goofy at one point, there is a song that does something like this. That's all I'll do without spoilers. A little bit goofy for me, but I still got a kick out of it. I was like, okay, I'm kind of into this. I just want these two to keep making classic, epic, period piece if you want, but please keep making movies for the love of God. And this is a must see in the theater. They mentioned Netflix. Like, thank you for Netflix for presenting this. I don't think they announced that Netflix had it.
I don't know. Maybe they funded part of it or something.
Maybe there was a slip up that we're not supposed to know. I don't know. If this goes straight to Netflix and you can't watch it in a theater, that's a fucking crime against Martin Scorsese's version of cinema. Okay, this is a must see. I finally understood why the TIFF Lightbox is the best theater there, because I was like, holy shit, turn it up even more. This is awesome.
Yeah. Right. Amazing pick. The Testament of Ann Lee. Number one for Chase. And Amanda, I think you had no other choice but to name this one your top pick.
Yeah, I do have no other choice but to name No Other Choice. This was actually the first movie I saw at the festival, and I really liked it. And it is the one that is, like, I guess still staying with me the longest, as more people have seen it and kind of mentioned things about it and things they liked. So I'm just really into it. It's the latest from Park Chan-wook.
Yep.
His last one was Decision to Leave, which I was a huge fan of. I don't think this gets to the top of my Park Chan-wook movies. Handmaiden, I think, still owns that top spot.
Old Boy for me.
Yeah, of course. But this is still really good, and it's really funny. I was not expecting it to be as funny as it was, where you have this guy who's essentially lost his job at a paper company, and the lengths he's going to try to get that position back at another company. But there's so many like fun little moments where the people he's interacting with who are in the same position as him, where he's just like yelling at them about things that he's also doing, is so funny. There's lots of callbacks where he starts saying the same things that the person he was criticizing was saying. And I really love what the ending ends up being. So I think this is a great movie. It is another one of those ones that's a little bit longer than 2 hours that I think that slightly longer runtime could have been used better in areas or trimmed down a little bit, but it's still a fantastic movie.
Yeah, this was my number 4. So I also really enjoyed it. I would say I agree with both of you. Well, Zach hasn't seen it, but Handmaid and the Old Boy are like top tier there.
Yeah.
I would put this maybe a little bit above Decision to Leave, but I do have to rewatch both of them. Just a really fun idea, even if I think it goes a little long, which I think Decision to Leave kind of did a little bit too, but that's kind of
allowed.
Part of, yeah, exactly. He can do what he wants. But
He can do it.
I think what it is it's the most modern movie he could possibly make. I think that a lot of times people say like, oh, this is a movie of the times. Like this is a movie we need right now. But I feel like this is one of the times where I would actually define it that way. Like it says a lot about like how scary the future of employment is for a lot of people, especially with stuff like AI coming up and what that's going to do to every single job industry. And I think a lot of filmmakers would take that theme and make like a very obvious movie out of it. Like, oh, okay, like of course you're going to do this. But he does it in a way that's both fun, serious, is a little goofy for some people at certain times, but there's a lot of cool filmmaking here with certain cross dissolves that he does that I haven't really seen before. Yeah, just like a really good movie that I do want to rewatch again. I could see it going up my list. And yeah, it's one it's hard to talk about because I don't want to ruin it for anybody that hasn't seen it. But I agree with Amanda. It was just an accident, and this have the best endings of the festival for me, for sure. I don't know which one I would pick. Probably it was just an accident by a little bit, but this has a really, really good ending. A really, really good last like 10 minutes.
Yes, somewhat surprisingly, at least in my estimation, this ended up winning the TIFF People's Choice International Award. It seemed like maybe Sentimental Value would be the front runner, but that came up as a runner-up. I wonder, though, if just you mentioned all the humor in this film and even just the ideas and themes of social inequality and, you know, the difficulties that regular people face to put together a decent life might just be resonating with people in this movie.
I think so.
Yeah, it seems like it's a lot of people's favorite. So
yeah,
I think a lot of people are going to put this in their top 5, top 3, top 1 spot of 2025 by the time it's over.
Right.
Absolutely. I think my biggest theme of this festival is that most of these movies I feel like I need to watch again, and I think my appreciation for them will go up. And I think that's why some of the like easier, nice ones are going to be the ones that kind of immediately stood out because there's just like I feel like I got everything out of them in that first watch.
Right.
But yeah, still very solid.
Nice. Yeah, a lot of exciting movies just around the corner. Hopefully you'll all get a chance to catch them soon and let us know what you think. But I think that's about all for our top 10 films of TIFF 2025 episode. You can catch more from me, Zach Shevich, by following me on Twitter, Instagram, or Letterboxd at ZShevich. That's ZSHEVICH. And check out my videos wherever you find videos at Multiplex Show. Chase, thank you for joining us on this episode. Where can people find your future TIFF coverage as well as all of your coverage?
Of course. I don't remember if this stays in the video right here, but this is my name, Chase Azarian. I make videos on YouTube. You haven't seen any in a while because it's been a pretty crazy year for me, but I kind of use this TIFF as a restart for myself. So if you want to catch my thoughts on every movie I've seen at TIFF, I'm going to work on a quick top 30 ranking because I saw 30 movies, so I'll go in order, go in depth of the other 20 I didn't talk about today. And then I'll do a lot of individual reviews as the week comes out. I got to go to Miami for a couple days for my girlfriend's family. But after that, I'm going to be getting out a lot of stuff. Have a Paul Thomas Anderson ranked video that I'm working on that I'm really excited about because I grew up thinking he was one of my favorite directors. So I'm excited to get into that. So if that is up your alley, that should be coming out probably by mid-October, I'm aiming for. I want to see one battle after another at least twice. So that is my plan.
Too looking forward to all that upcoming content from you, Chase. Amanda, when should people expect seeing some TIFF coverage out of you?
I have no idea. I'm currently dealing with pigeons.
Yeah, that is an ongoing saga.
Yeah, so the weapons videos I delayed yet again, but that's got to be first, and then potentially TIFF after that. But there's a chance it might not be out till like the first week of October because I'm like that. So sorry. That's why we do this.
Maybe instead of filming yourself for the weapons video, you could just film the pigeons or something like that.
Honestly,
just do voiceover.
I feel like there's a way I could fit it in. You know, I could make it work.
At 2:17 a.m., 4 pigeons disappeared from my balcony.
I hope that's what I'm fucking waiting for. But it wasn't me because that's a violation of the aviary something migratory laws.
Correct.
Well, we'll look forward to your videos whenever the pigeons allow you to get them done. You can listen to every episode of the Intercut podcast on iTunes, Spotify, whatever your favorite podcatcher is, Pocket Casts. I like using Overcast. And then make sure you're subscribed not just to the audio podcast, but the video feed as well on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/IntercutPod, where you can watch our poutine-filled faces as we run through the latest in entertainment. Find new episodes of the Intercut Weekend Must Watch streaming on our YouTube channel every Monday. And please leave us a comment, like the videos. Consider heading over to iTunes to give us that much requested 5-star review. You can like our Facebook, our Instagram, our Twitter. You can follow us on Letterboxd. You can support our Patreon and find all of those at Intercut Pod. Those are great places to get updates throughout the week from me, from Amanda, from Arturo, from Chase, from all the guests that we feature here on the podcast. And make sure to join our Discord server by clicking the link in the description of this episode to keep the conversation going throughout the week. Thanks again for tuning in, and until next time, the Toronto Film Festival is the most prestigious place to premiere a movie down the street from a Hooters.
If it's good enough for Kristen Stewart, it's good enough for you.
It is a staple.